a couple of the topics that we have on today. We have a few more people joining us. Oh, there you go.
What's going on?
What's up, man? That's interesting.
Can you
Your
hear me?
your other video is still on the thing.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know how to take it off either, but and here's Daisha too.
Mm.
Hey.
All right, there you go, there you go. All right, well, yeah, this is the Black Quarantine. Um, Topic of today is Black politics and the uh the funny ass debate we had last night. Um, so the first topic we're gonna talk about is that debate, Biden and Trump. What are you guys' thoughts about that? I know Martin was ready.
Man, listen. Now I'm camera shy. But hey, I'll just say this, man. It was not a very proud American moment, to say the least.
Facts.
And just to kind of get a refresher on what debates were supposed to look like, I went back when President Obama was debating Mitt Romney, and I looked at that. I was like, man, this is a very diplomatic debate. The points that they were making, they were answering the questions, not avoiding them. Yeah, there was some interrupting because that's part of the debate, but they got their points across. And coming from this debate, man, it was a shame. It's like Trump. I don't remember anything Trump said other than denouncing the fact that he's affiliated with any kind of white supremacist. Like, I don't remember anything he said that really held any weight. He just uses these third grade adjectives to describe what he is doing. And Biden can't get through a thought without stuttering and just, I was just like, no one looked strong. No one looked strong. And it was a tragedy, bro. I don't even know where to start. It was just bad. It was just so bad. And
Yeah.
I gotta shout out to the moderator, boy. He had
I don't even know if he gets any props because, like, I mean, yeah, he at least tried to keep Trump in check, but at the same time, he didn't. I feel like he didn't press Trump on like a lot of questions, like especially when they were talking about what was it? They were talking about like what have you done for Black people, or whatever, and they were trying to press Trump. I felt like he just let Trump slide on a lot of stuff.
man.
Clearly, I'm struggling to even get involved in this conversation.
You said what?
What's up?
I'm trying to get myself set up. I'm struggling. Sorry.
No worries. No worries.
Hey, you know what? Hop in whenever, because Trump definitely avoided any question that addressed racism, that addressed, when Biden brought up the whole case about, George Floyd's life, he didn't speak to any of that. He didn't speak to any of that. And it really raises an eyebrow because at first, I mean, we all know that Trump, deliberately or not, he is a racist. You know what I mean? He's prejudiced towards the white race. And against the Black people. But
Yeah.
that was my mistake. But when you look at this debate, it became more obvious that he really don't care. Really don't care. He had no response, no rebuttal for that at all.
Yeah, and it seemed like he kept going back to like the police and how hard their job was, how hard their job is. Like when asked about like, like how you feel about like police brutality and all this stuff. And that's another thing. When they asked him, can you denounce white supremacy? You remember that? And he couldn't denounce it. He was like, he told the Proud Boys, which is like basically a white supremacist militia, and he said, stand back and stand by. That's all he said. He didn't denounce it. He didn't say, oh, I don't support white supremacy. He just told them to stand back and stand by. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but like on social media, there have been like a lot of screenshots uh, like floating around of like these Proud Boy group chats and like text messages saying like basically saying that like, oh, we feel like Trump co-signed us. Yes, sir, we will stand by that sort of stuff. And these are the type of people who are going to be at like, all these protests, Kyle Rittenhouse, if not worse type people.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Trump empowers racists and white supremacists the same way Obama empowered black people in his first 2 years of presidency. That's how I feel like he empowers racists. And I feel like when he speaks like that, it gives them the green light, and it don't surprise me though, because as a black person watching that debate yesterday, you knew that your current president, is not looking out for you at all.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling your opposition to stand by. Like, all right, let him do something. Let him jump stupid and we on his head. And yeah, bro, it was crazy, man. I want to go in on Trump, but I also want to go in on Biden too, because he didn't have a strong performance at all.
Yeah.
At all.
What? Okay, I have a question about the Proud Boys and whatnot, the white supremacist group. Do we think they're going to be more agitated though? Like, are they going to be more agitated if Trump doesn't win, and thereafter, regardless of if he's president or not, still try to cause hell? Or I guess especially if he's no longer president, try to cause hell?
I think that's a good question. I think, well, the way Trump is framing this election right now, he's framing it in like a really fascist sort of manner, where like he basically saying like if he loses, it's because it was rigged, it's a hoax, blah 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 blah. The radical left is doing it, and so like he's making it sound like if he loses, he's not gonna give up his seat of power. So like I can definitely imagine like if it turns out that he's lost, and then Trump is tweeting, "Oh, y'all got me messed up." This was a rigged election, all that. I can definitely see them getting emboldened, and who knows what further stuff they'll do. Because these Proud Boys, they're kind of serious. They're very, because I did a little bit of research on them. They're like they got guns and they're racist. Simple.
So many of those.
Yeah.
I'm about to say, man, dang. I mean, I got Proud Boys all around me. You feel me?
These ones they're organized.
But I think that was a great question. I do believe that if President Trump is not reelected, that these people will cause some trouble. They're gonna try to defend or stand for their leader. You know what I mean? Kind of like how the Confederate South is, people still believe in that crap.
Oh yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean, y'all still stay in Florida, so I mean, if you ever got on I-4 in Tampa, like they still have that Confederate flag right there on what is it, 75?
Mm-hmm.
They fly it right now. They haven't been flying it lately, but yeah.
I mean, come on, man. If you flying that junk right now, come on. Are you kidding me?
Stupid.
They took it down after the protests for George Floyd. People were saying they were going to burn it down, so he took it down.
Smart move.
I mean, yeah, like, come on. But I think to your question, I do believe those people will try to do their best to defend their leader and what he stands for. Because I think what people fail to realize is that there is a lot more people that agree with Trump than actually disagree with him. And I think people,
so?
I mean, come on. Rigged election or not, I've been seeing a lot of people supporting Trump, like standing there really believing what this man says. To me, a person like Trump shouldn't win not one state when it comes to electoral votes, but he manages to make it close. Like even between, I was like, wow. And this year, I mean, whether black people vote or not this year, I don't see Trump losing this election.
Yeah, and
Facts.
yeah, and I think like that kind of just goes to show that like no matter what Trump does, he's always going to have that core following of people, and they probably don't even care about whatever policies or whatever he's trying to like accomplish or whatever. Like they probably just going to cheer for Trump because they either one think he's for white people or two they want to say screw the other side, like screw the liberals, the leftists or whatever. And he's always going to have that, like regardless of whatever happens.
I feel like Trump has a model of an America that doesn't really exist anymore, that people actually want to see, but couldn't exist anymore in 2020. I see a lot of corporate, these large companies avoiding taxes. A lot of his rich billionaire friends, they're avoiding taxes. And
Everybody avoids taxes, though. Everybody was so mad. Trump only paid $750. Everybody tries to, maybe not us, like, or I don't know.
Yeah, every rich person maybe.
But I like, if you can write it off and you understand how to write it off, then you will write it off. I'm not saying it was right, but like, I don't know about that as a narrative or a talking point.
Well, the thing about Trey, like people write it off, but like the way he wrote it off, like $750 with his alleged income, like I don't think people write it off that much, like because he's supposedly a billionaire, right? 750, that's like less than 0.01% of your net worth or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, let's think of it this way. I don't care about Trump not paying taxes. What I care about is someone in leadership, and someone that holds such a high position in our nation, not doing the very thing that we are committed to doing come on, like every day of our being, we're paying taxes for the progression, quote unquote, of our country and our nation. But then we have someone who has a great share of the wealth within a nation, who has a lot of businesses, who has a lot of different ventures, and he is not paying taxes, but he's also leading our country. He's also, it just goes without saying, this man, integrity is not something that he really embodies at all. And I think that, I'm not trying to make him not paying taxes a talking point, but it's just like his lack of integrity is at full display, especially yesterday.
Yeah, that was kind of, we didn't even need to know about the taxes to know that the man lacks integrity and everything under the sun. That was just like another bullet point to add to the list of things.
So I got a question. At this point, what should let's say if a voter was on the fence, right?
Right.
After watching yesterday's debate, what conclusions could he draw to get closer to making a decision on who to vote for?
Oh, that's a good question, and it kind of ties into the next topic. So, you mind if I like narrow it to like black voters?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. So, who should black, like based off of, you can kind of use last night's debate as like a template if you want, but based off of that, who are we thinking black people should vote for?
Who's running independent?
I was just about to say, y'all.
Hey, vote me. I'm gonna put mine in
there.
Sonny said, "You remember? I got you. I'm running for you."
Hey, give me those 2-3 votes.
What? I'll even donate to your campaign, bro. Like,
hey.
I'm screaming.
It's crazy because I thought, as a Haitian man, as a Haitian man, I couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton.
Why? Wait, no, unpack.
No. Listen, hold on, guys. Don't make any assumptions.
No, but it's because of how she handled. I know what you're talking about.
Well, first of all, people don't know, but just being in Haiti and involved with Haiti for so long, I know what the Clintons have been doing in Haiti for so long, you know, and the
Right.
Clinton Foundation. And there's no way in hell I could ever co-sign anything Hillary Clinton does. You know, they're abducting children over there,
Hmm.
buying up all our land, leaving a lot of Haitians homeless, claiming, and then also bringing in products that we grow in our country to then diminish our economy. And I was like, there's no way I can vote for this woman.
Damn.
Absolutely not. You know what I mean? And if any Haitian person voted for Hillary Clinton, I definitely looked at you as suspect. On the other hand, I couldn't vote for Trump either. I just could not. So I voted independent, but I looked like a fool because I was like, dang, does my vote really count? But I just like, I couldn't vote for neither one of them. And I feel
But
like as a black man, I feel like I'm in the same position once again because if I vote for Biden, I'm only voting for Biden because I don't want to vote for Trump. You know what I mean? But it's not because I really support Biden, especially after yesterday.
Especially.
we got somebody else in here. I think that's Daniel. Um,
Come on in.
what's up, man?
Oh,
Can't see you.
yeah. Here you
Oh,
go.
there you go.
How y'all doing?
What's
Good,
up,
good.
Dan?
How you
What's
doing? How
going
you
I'm alright. I'm alright. Can't complain. All
Yeah,
things
so
considered.
I feel that. Right now we're talking about basically like who should black people vote for based off of last night's debate. Like who's in the best interest of black people? And Martin was just talking about how his experience with the last election, how he couldn't vote for Hillary because of him being a Haitian man and her involvement in Haiti, how that
Mhm.
was really detrimental. And just what I was going to add on to that was that I don't think you were in the wrong because like I did the same thing last election. I voted third party and I voted in Maryland. So I voted Hillary Clinton. I'm sorry, Jill Stein. And a lot of people are saying, oh, your vote didn't count or whatever. But at the end of the day, you can't say I voted for Trump because Hillary won that state. So like at the end of the day, my vote essentially didn't count either way because for the electoral college, like Hillary gets that state,
Yeah.
You're right.
and so yeah, no, I feel a lot of what you were saying, Martin. I definitely feel like we're in the same position because Joe Biden with the '94 crime bill, and he has top cop Kamala Harris as his VP. Like, why? It's hard to vote for them in good conscience, knowing like their history and all the stuff that they do.
But
Right.
have you looked at their current police policies, or are we still going off 94? Because 94 is actually quite a long time ago at this point. It's 2020.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the current police policy. I know that, and Biden said it last night. He wants to not defund the police, but increase the funding of the police, um,
Yeah.
which is
Right, but he said what it was for too, right? And I'm not even a Biden fan, but like I want to like make a decision based on what at least they're putting in front of me. Because if I say, all right, well, back in '94 you did this and limit it to defund versus fund, I mean, it's more nuanced than that, right? He said he wanted to increase transparency in the process. That means you need to pay lawyers and people to actually watch. He said he wanted to embed mental health professionals to de-escalate situations. Those people also will need to get paid. So like that's funding. Things like body cams, making it um, make sure every police department uses body cams. That's going to cost money. Those aren't things you can both get and defund. So defund is good as a slogan. As far as a policy, I'm not sure if
well,
it's
no. Well, I mean, personally, for me,
yeah.
my attitude towards the police is that the policing institution needs to be abolished. That's how I
Mm,
feel about it. It's so like
I'm not mad at that.
yeah, I understand everything that you're saying.
Hmm.
About like funding for these other I guess programs and policies within the institution of policing. But my stance is that it's corrupt at its root, and we're still going to have a lot of the same issues. Um, we're still going to have a lot of the same issues moving forward, despite no matter how many reforms and
Yeah.
band-aids we put on it.
I
So
feel
you
that.
mean
I feel
you mean abolish and create something new, or just
Well, I mean, obviously, I think you need something, but I think,
struggle.
and I think like community policing is definitely something to look into, as far as like you know uh, having members of the community and holding them accountable, and then not only having people as part of the community, but also introducing social workers who can do a lot of the things that, because people call the police for everything. People call the police, oh, the music's too loud. We bring call 911, get the police over here. Oh, my cat's in the tree, call 911. Like, and a lot of those times, like you don't even need the cops there, and it's just a unnecessary hazard waiting to happen because they're so trigger happy and whatnot. So like a lot of those situations, you can instead of like calling police, you can have maybe like a social worker or whatever, somebody qualified to handle the task instead of the police. That's my viewpoint on it right now.
I mean, I definitely I feel you on that one because, for example, um, for anybody that's familiar with Tampa, the university area, which is like pretty much where University of South Florida is. And I used to work with a former cop, and I remember one time I told him like, yeah, I'm going to this event at Studio Movie Grill, right? And he's like, oh, I used to work over there. Like he used to, because he used to be a cop, so he's like he used to work, like he used to, kind of patrol that area.
Right.
And he's like, what are you doing in that area? I'm like, oh, I'm just going to an event over there. He's like, yeah, I wouldn't go over there to watch a movie. And it made me think. I'm like, how could you be policing an area where you wouldn't even feel comfortable going your free time?
Right.
And that makes me think about the people that are policing certain communities. They don't care about the people and they don't care about the community at all. They're clocking into a job. So really, when body cam or not, I know I can get away with this crime in this community because guess what? I know my department don't care about this community either. So I think community policing is something that what's the name of that group that not fucking around community? Who are they?
oh the
And
militia?
yeah, that militia. Like
The Proud Boys.
no, they're
Wait,
black.
what are you talking about? Oh, the Black Panthers.
No, it's a new like militia group. Fucking around.
It's like the 2020. It's like the 2020 Black Panthers.
Yeah, they're
The
fun.
new Black. I think they're called the new Black Panthers.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's like the NFAC or something like that. And what they were,
Wow.
I see something like that, but not so extreme because they're not as objective as I would like. But really, we need to defend our own communities. Kind of like how Bobby Seale and Huey Newton wanted it. We carry guns. We police in our situations. If you're gonna pull over a black person in our community, we're gonna be there to see what's up because we're not gonna just sit here and let you manipulate and take advantage of a situation like Jacob Blake getting shot 7 times in the back. That's not gonna happen if we're around here to defend you. And so
Well, then again,
when Daniel, yeah,
if you go to the Jacob Blake situation and we're all there with guns, the cops then now say, "Well, I was surrounded by a bunch of black people with guns. What you want me to do?" Now it's a shootout, right? Like de-escalation is supposed to be the goal in these scenarios, I think. And without proper training, and again, I'm not for the police because I feel like right now the qualifications you need to be a police officer are way too low. We
Abysmal.
have we have idiots with guns. Like every kid I knew from high school, I went to high school in a white neighborhood. The kids who didn't look like they had anything going for them became cops.
You're right.
So like we have a problem with policing in this country for sure. But what's the word I want to use? But the goal, the purported goal of policing is a necessary one. And whether we do it ourselves or there's a federal force that does it or a state force that does it, we can't pretend or reduce this discussion to, well, police equals bad because we know better. With that being said, real reform has to happen, right? So no matter who's in office, we have to be on their neck about dealing with this issue and this issue in particular, because it's something that, I mean, I had a talk with some of my friends from high school. Again, I grew up in a white neighborhood. There were maybe like 7 black kids in my graduating class. So every year it was about the same. My circle of friends was basically the black kids. There were 5 of us on a group chat one day, and I just brought it up like, how many of us have had guns pulled by the police on us? All 5 of us had. All 5 of us who lived within a 2-mile radius had guns pulled on us by police in our lifetimes, and maybe one of us deserved it. But so with that being said, I understand this idea that we need community policing, but that needs to come with the requisite training too, because honestly, I know people from my community before I moved to this neighborhood that I wouldn't want to be police officers either.
Right. Facts.
I'm not. In fact, maybe we need to disarm police instead of defund police. Maybe you call SWAT for things that need guns, because a traffic stop doesn't need a gun.
Yeah.
Right.
I was wondering if they talk about demilitarization, or they just he only talked about adding funds, because I think that I don't necessarily agree with defund. I agree more with what Daniel was saying. Like, we need to incorporate different services and trainings, which is going to require money, but also a lot of the policing brigades are heavily militarized. So there was talk about not defunding, but reallocating funds from certain places to other places to be able to fund the things that people actually think the police should be there for and what is within their realm.
Yeah, I think reallocation of funds is probably more feasible, and that way we can talk about things like rehabilitation, because a lot of people that are in certain crime areas, I mean, I think there's a lot of, like, when you talk about homelessness and crime, like, a lot of it comes from mental health issues. A lot of it comes from trauma. So I think if we really try to address the real issue, I think America tries too hard not to reconcile their differences with Black people. Like, they make all kinds of excuses.
Yeah.
So if we reallocated the funds to something that is actually going to help the people that are being targeted, pretty much, because I mean, like, I live in the suburbs in Charlotte, and I never see a cop out here. But as soon as I get to East Side, North Side, I'm telling you, like, every other place you're going, you're seeing police cars, and it's like I feel like we're being targeted.
Yeah, no, and my issue with a lot of this is that a lot of this is like really interconnected. Like, policing has like very like white supremacist roots. Like, like like they used to be slave catchers, and then these people worked for the mayor, ended up becoming more organized, but like a lot of the biases are still there from slavery days. And then when I'm saying it's all interconnected, like, of course they use their weapons because they're in areas where there's a lot of high crime, but we all know that poverty has like a direct correlation with high crime. And so you continue to over police these impoverished neighborhoods. And obviously when you over police, you're going to find more stuff because you're looking for stuff, and obviously you're going to find more crime. And it's just all like very interconnected, and it's almost like a loop in which you're going to keep getting the same result until you like just cut off the root so it doesn't grow back, if that makes sense.
It's like these food industries and cancer research, like the same same foods that's causing cancer are the same ones that's funding the American Cancer Society. And it's like, but y'all pretty much, putting cancer into our bodies. You put us in a position where it's like, dang, I have no choice but to keep, this cycle going. It's to your point, you remind me of that documentary I watched on Netflix, The 13th Amendment, how neighborhoods and people are being targeted and end up in these, incarcerated or in these prisons, and they never get out, because once you're a prisoner, you're a slave, and you're the country's property, your government's property now. So
Right.
And what Sanisa, when you said interconnected, like I agree with where you went, but I also was just gonna say like um we see how it's like the criminal justice system is interconnected with the poor healthcare system, which is interconnected with the education system. Like more than that, like America, like we feel as though things are going wrong, but it's a very well-oiled machine, and the people that were meant to be kept up are constantly consistently kept up, and the people that were meant to be kept down are consistently kept down. So not just getting at the root of like whether the targeting us or specific to policing and criminal justice reform, but really getting to the root of um America or its foundation. Y'all know I'd be talking that shit about complete and total evolution and revolution, but I just think that it's all interconnected too.
So do you believe that, let's go ahead. My bad, Daniel.
It's all good. There's definitely something to that complete overhaul because I think Sandisa said something about poor neighborhoods being over policed. That's because poverty is a crime in this country, right? Like sleeping in the wrong place when you don't have a place to sleep is a crime. Peeing in the wrong place is a crime. Standing in the wrong place is a crime.
But the poverty is manufactured too. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So like all those things are very much interconnected. And I think if we're going to live in a society that makes all these things crimes, well, number one, we need a society that helps to prevent these things. And number two, we need to have a police force that, if there's still crimes, we need to have a police force that understands what the different kinds of crimes are, right? Like someone sleeping in the wrong place is different from someone robbing a bank. Right. Someone peeing in the wrong place is different from a child molester, right? Like when there's that lack of nuance, when there's that lack of understanding, you get the results we have now. And I think you need both. You need an approach from both sides. You need an approach to create conditions where there's less poverty and therefore less crime. And then you also need to create conditions when policing is more holistic and understands that, hey, we're here to solve problems, not create new ones.
Yeah, and I think that goes along with reducing the role of police for certain situations, like you were saying for homeless people, or maybe peeing where you're not supposed to be. You don't need to call the police for that. You can get a social worker because they're more trained to deal with certain people and their issues rather than a cop would. Like how many times I've seen something trending or like on the news where a cop has shot somebody who is mentally disabled or has a disability, and like it makes no sense, and they're idiots, but they don't have the training to deal with those kinds of situations, and it doesn't make sense that we call the cops and they come there armed, ready to kill somebody.
Yeah. And that goes back to just, instead of defunding, using the term defunding, we do need to reallocate funds. And rehabilitation is something that we really need to talk about because, I used to go to different homeless shelters, and most of the people that you encounter have come from some type of traumatic background, some kind of drug substance abuse, or some kind of mental health issues. Mm-hmm. Those are a lot of times the people that are also getting arrested and getting convicted and not having a public defender or someone that actually cares about them to say, hey, something's wrong with this individual and they need help. They need, they need a program. They need something. And I don't think our system is designed to help people. It's designed to criminalize people and lose you in the system, like Boosie said.
And I was going to add, yes, designed to criminalize. And like, you guys talked about like somebody peeing in public, like you don't need to call the police. Maybe you could call a social worker. Like, do we really need to call anybody? Like,
no,
like, I don't know that. I don't really think that we need to call anybody. If he's like in the back alley or shit, she too, like behind the car door, like, I don't know that you should be calling the police. Like, I don't know that should be a crime. Like, y'all need to maybe chill a little bit. I mean, akin to, I guess, marijuana or, victimless crimes in general, unless he's, peeing in the water fountain, I don't know that anybody is actually being harmed from that act. So to need to call anybody, to be so overwhelmed by one relieving themselves in public, I think it's a bit comical in and of itself. And it's a part of rethinking, what do we actually want to criminalize, or what do we want to try to deter in our society, and what consequences will come to feed that, goal of deterrence.
And just real quick, this is why like I don't want to focus it, but this is why I'm for like abolishing the police. Is because like the police serve some form of government, whether it be state, local, federal. Like there's police at all those levels, and what we all know about America is that it's about its money. So a lot of times, like these cops will, like I'm sure we know, like cops will pull you over and give you a fine, just to like meet a quota. Like it's just inherently messed up the way they're supposed to function, and I feel like a form of community policing, in which the police are beholden to their community, they're held accountable by the community, is just obviously is, from what we know, it hasn't been done before, or hasn't been done on a well-known level, but it just seems like it would be so much better. Also, shout out to Satsuki the Savage. He's watching the stream. He says he's enjoying the discussion. All right.
Yo.
Shout out. Abolishing the police sound good, but it's just like, where do we start? Like, if we're gonna tear it down, we gotta build something back up, right? I just think it's corrupt. I think depending on what area you're in too, it's a lot worse. Cause like Fort Lauderdale, Miami, I just know you don't want to call the police if you're black. You don't, but I just like to go back to the debate from yesterday. Like, which one of the presidents, one for sure, is actually going to do something about it? I don't think Trump
Neither
is.
one. Neither one of them are going to do a goddamn thing, because the police forces are state.
Yeah,
This is true.
I mean, I didn't mean to like be so
this is
aggressive
true.
about
Yeah,
it.
Hey,
But
that's facts.
that's real rap. That's real rap.
Yeah,
Yeah, but there's also a level of how do I put it? A president can set the tone.
yeah,
Like at
fact.
the end of the Obama era, we had the Holder Report, and that was significant. And the first thing the next administration did was undo all the change that was coming from the Holder Report.
right.
All the talk about white supremacists infiltrating law enforcement, for all my qualms on Obama, him bringing that to the light and making that official is significant, right? It made it not deniable. It made it something that wasn't just a conspiracy theory. No, we've done the requisite research, and we can definitively say it's been infiltrated. When you talk about how people, I mean, at the end of the day, the president's the chief executive. He's the head law enforcement officer in the country. That's what the position essentially is.
So he got
He
some
can also
clout.
push the agenda in terms of, right, he has some clout, and clout's necessary. We saw a stand down and stand by order last night, and right, and we see the significance of that, right? Like, so
Yeah,
as much as Daisha is correct that it's a state issue as much as it is a federal issue, if not more, there is significance to that person being someone who says, "Hey, we need to do better," because there are also things the federal government can do to at least streamline the process. You
I
know,
feel that.
I it's tough because, like, again, this is Joe Biden. He's not inspiring in any sense of the word, but number one, he's definitely better than the alternative, at least on this issue.
He's inspiring his dying breed.
Bro, can we roast
And
both of them like real quick? Let's take 5 minutes and just roast these cats.
okay, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Or don't
Just to
don't
get it
roast
out the way.
Biden. Don't roast Biden for his stutter, because I think that's like actually like a disability that he had.
Yeah,
going.
yeah, that is a thing. That is a thing.
Yeah.
So I snapped early when I said that. I was messed up.
You're good. We forgot about it.
Bruh, I'll be real, man. I didn't know that before yesterday, but
Nah, it
there's a
was
lot more than just stuttering. First of all, he got sunned. He got sunned by Trump. Trump sunned him on
he got
several
cuffed,
occasions.
bro.
Trump said Biden could be 100 feet away from somebody and still have on the biggest mask he ever seen in his life.
Bro, he went in on him. He said, "Don't talk about smart around me. You are not." I forgot exactly what he said. He said, "You're not
He said,
smart."
he said you've been
He
doing this.
called,
You've been doing. He's like,
he
what have you
called
done
him
in 47 years?
a crackhead.
Oh my God. Is that true? Because
Yeah,
that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah. It is true. It is true. It is true. It is true. It's true.
I was
He said
dead.
your
I think
son was dishonorably discharged because he was
so.
doing
He was technically administratively discharged. He wasn't dishonorably
okay.
discharged because he
Really?
failed a
Check.
cocaine test.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
I mean, same effect. I mean, it's not as bad because it's not like we never want to see you again. It's more like, hey, can't do this here, leave. Um,
Them boys got
but at
real
the same
petty. Them boys
time,
got real petty
at the
yesterday.
same time, my big knock on Biden last night was pick a point, make that point, right? Like he kept, and it wasn't even the stuttering. It was the I
He
don't
had
know
no
who I'm
presence.
talking to right now. He didn't know if he was talking to Trump. He didn't know if he was talking to the moderator. He didn't know if he was talking to liberals. He didn't know if he was talking to conservatives. So his message kept getting muddled. Like it was just a whole lot of, well, this guy's an idiot. How can you look at this idiot and look at me and consider the idiot? Like
I
there
can see
wasn't
why
a
he was
clear
vice president.
message. Right, right. I mean, he was a lot sharper 4 years ago, to be honest,
Yeah, but he
because
just doesn't have that.
he wasn't this.
Yeah, he got
He,
brain
He,
matter
he,
leaking out his ear. He's
he's
he,
like a zombie right now. Like he's
yeah,
legit. Like
his brain's melted, man.
yeah, and there's
I don't
no
know.
confidence. There's nothing about Biden made me feel confident in him. And
actually, until he started talking about the son that was killed in Iraq or in Afghanistan,
Oh yeah, I
he
felt a
added
little
some
bad.
bass in his voice. He almost pressed him, but
He was
he's not gonna actually win a yelling match with
Trump.
Trump.
he ain't gonna
He's
win with
not gonna
King
win a
Petty.
yelling match.
He's too petty, man. You can't win with Trump. Like that's why when
I'm
Biden
surprised. I'm surprised he didn't make a Bone Spurs joke. Honestly, like that's such low hanging fruit. Just you how you hate the military from outside. You never got in. You avoided it. Like
oh
how's your foot
my God.
doing? I heard you couldn't even go to war back in the day because you had them Bone Spurs. Like where was that energy? Also, who does his
Biden
makeup?
thing
Because
going.
he really looked like a corpse. There's no reason to be that pale with that kind of lighting. And
You
it
talking
seems
Biden?
petty, but it makes you you look even older. You're almost if
See,
he's not 80 yet, but he looked
see,
95.
Trump had makeup on, and that's why he had the appearance. He had even though his words were all hollow, he had
Hmm.
the appearance of a leader. Like he was confident. He had the charisma. He had the makeup, which minus the year off his age. Like he he did everything he needed to do to appear strong, while Biden just looked like you said, a frail corpse who couldn't stand his ground. It was bad. It was
And
bad.
I think part of that comes from Trump knows exactly who he's leading, where Biden's trying to have this big umbrella, but like everybody on the umbrella doesn't fuck with each other like that. Part of my language. Like
No,
it's
yeah.
not like it wants to be inclusive, but like I don't know if
He can
Kasich
bring them together.
and Ocasio Cortez can fly under the same flag. Like that's not, you know what I'm saying? Like it just doesn't work that way.
it's not a
That,
united front, like you
that's
mentioned.
just
It's
the
not a
problem with
united
the
Yeah.
left, though.
Say again.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, I think you were saying something. I was just saying that we don't have a united front on the Democratic side. Like,
Yeah, I was just saying that's like a problem with the left in general. Like
mhm.
a lot of people on the left, like we or people on the left, they tend to be just critical of each other. Like, oh, you're not as leftist as me, or that kind of thing.
Or who could be the most extreme?
Yeah,
Yeah. Like I hear a lot of revolution talk and not a lot of gun talk. And I say, so how are you going to do this revolution? I
yeah.
hear a lot of we're going to break the system down. I'm like, all right, which system?
The
You can't
whole
break
thing,
racism down.
Daniel. Don't play with us.
He
No,
said,
no, no. I mean, sure, break it down, but like, all right, who's left, and what are you going to do with them? because I mean, we've seen genocides around the world.
I think it's more of
Revolution,
a long
revolution,
term, like
revolution leads to that kind of stuff. Like you have to understand that like it's not just as simple as the cathartic day of yeah we burned down the White House. No, it's first of all that's not the goal. It's a good house. It's a usable house. You can use the house, but
Right, right.
even further than that, you have to be like, all right, well, what do we do with the people afterwards? Because remember, black people are what 13% of the population in this country.
hmm
So
ain't,
who, so
ain't
let's
no
say we're at
armed
the front of this
revolution gonna
revolution.
work.
Number one, but number two, let's say somehow the revolution happens. Lord Commander Daisha takes over the United States of America, right?
I'm dead.
But
Hey,
now she needs a policy. Now she needs a policy for everybody. And all of a sudden, everything we're talking about up to this point is almost moot because we've taken over now. We're not appealing to anybody anymore. And I don't see enough of a plan that isn't about appealing. I don't see a plan that
Mm.
has enough. You know, I don't see a plan that isn't like, all right, let's organize to build this in our community. Because let's say we all agreed to go to Wyoming on some Kanye ish and said, all right, we'll build a town and run the town the way we want to run the town, and go from there. And if it works, more people can come. And if it doesn't, well, at least we didn't destroy everything in the process of making a town that doesn't work, right? Like I don't see enough of the action that says we're actually serious and we're not throwing a tantrum. You
Well,
know, like
but that's the line, and it's very thin because I've been people were and still are like saying I won't even no, but like
Nah, say it with your chest. Speak
I
up.
don't think. Okay, yeah. So people were talking about say her name, Breonna Taylor. People wake up every morning and get on their social media and say her name,
Yeah,
say her name,
mhm.
and then continue on with their day exactly the same and feel like that was enough action for them to really revolutionize that situation or to have an effect on that. People felt that, or if they didn't feel that way, I don't know why they were waking up every morning and posting say her name, Breonna Taylor. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I think a part of it is that what you're saying, people don't necessarily know what the game plan is to know whether or not they can put their full weight of action behind it. And there's no clear game plan right now.
I
You know?
mean, yeah, I feel like the way I'm seeing it right now, um, like obviously, like Rome wasn't built in a day. Like just because people are talking all this revolutionary talk doesn't mean we're gonna see anything in the next 5 or 10 or however many years. Um, but I feel like the way, like especially like this year, the way everything's going, I do feel like it's building up um, a kind of sentiment. Maybe it's small right now, but like a sentiment within the masses in which it could eventually lead to something greater. Now, like how that will manifest, I'm not entirely sure. Um, but
right.
like like this year we had after George Floyd, like it was
That
big,
was a
but it also
moment.
wasn't. It made like a big deal on social media. Um, I think people are still protesting like days in a row since like that happened and all that stuff. Um, but like at the same time, people also just posted like a black square on Instagram and then called it a day. Never said anything else about it. Um, but I don't know. I feel like it can potentially lead up to something. Yeah, you're right. I don't know
Hey,
how that will
I agree.
manifest.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we realize this as a country or as a culture. Like, better a culture than country, but like Trump was a revolutionary candidate, and in many ways still is. Like that whole wink to the Proud Boys was him telling his private army, "Yo, if this by the book stuff doesn't work, you know the vibes." Like it wasn't, it wasn't like, hey, well, if I lose, well, I lost, and that's the game. No, he's like, no, I actually don't care for this game. Remember, he ran on drain the swamp. He ran on taking down the Washington elites. He ran on bucking the system. Right? It's just the thing is, when multiple different groups with different agendas also want to buck the system, they might look like allies at first, but when things come to a head, you realize, oh, we aren't fighting for the same things, right? You look at the George Floyd protests, you look at the Breonna Taylor protests, and then you hear about Antifa, and they're not fighting for the same things we are.
Right, and they're co-opting the movement, and a lot of Antifa people.
They're co-opting the movement in many ways, right? So it's funny. They were talking about the protesting and whatnot in the debate last night, and it immediately flipped over to Portland. But when you look at those videos of Portland, you know one thing you don't see? Black people.
You see a lot of white people, right? Stuff, and then Black Lives Matter.
They're not marching for George Floyd. They're not marching for Breonna Taylor. But they'll hide behind black bodies so that when the shooting starts, they can blend in with the crowd and say, oh my gosh, it's terrible. Because honestly, if you're a racist cop who was waiting to shoot people, looking for an excuse to shoot black people anyway, once you're shooting at this protest, the targets are the ones that look different.
Facts.
I see what you're saying about us all having different agendas. I think that I don't know that that's true. I think that most people's agendas are to be able to be free in the way that they would define it. And those definitions are different for all of these different groups. So we all want to be free, but herein lies the problem. You know, your freedom has to end at my cheek. So I think that what we're really shooting for, if we were to, if we were all to get together, would be to figure out where people's cheeks are at and then draw lines. Because right now, basically, we're going off the weight of the freedom and cheeks of niggas from the 18th century, which is not like any of us, not like, even the Republicans or whoever who thinks that the framers are their fathers, like, their freedom and your cheek are not the same. So that, I think, is the conversation that has to be like, Martin, you said this a little bit too, and earlier on, America doesn't want to not rectify, but even recognize its ill wills towards different parties. And that puts a thorn in the ability to even come to the table. Because if you won't recognize where you punched me in the cheek, and even though, it was written down it was written down years ago that it was fine for you to punch me in the cheek, even beat a bitch dead, it was cool. Like, you won't recognize that actually is not cool. Like,
they won't.
Okay.
Yeah, so, they won't recognize their differences.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that because of the lack of education, the lack of emotional intelligence discussions, and the lack of ability to have substantive and productive conversations, all is again a part of the fucked system. And because we don't have these tools available to us, we can't now actually sit down and have a discussion that is actually quite plausible had we been given these tools of, emotional intelligence from jump. So again, the people that were meant to be kept up have been kept up, and the people that were meant to be kept down have been kept down.
Yeah. Yeah, I read a thread earlier today talking about how, like, so I think the guy was conservative, the guy who wrote the thread, but I think the point of the thread was essentially Trump came to be because when the financial crisis happened in 2008 and no one from the banks or whatever was prosecuted, yet people legitimately lost their houses and jobs, and all of it was done legally. It's not like it was illegal for them to lose their house, and it's not like it was clearly not illegal for those people to do what they did that led to the financial crisis, right? So it led to a large portion of the population saying, you know what, F the system. Like, because at the end of the day, if I can do things the way I'm supposed to do it, I'm trying to live the American dream, I'm getting this loan to buy this house, and finally I can work my way up. I mean, you see it on social media all the time. There's a subset of people who every time, oh, well, you're using that stimulus money to buy property. Like, I mean, it's a joke, but at the same time, that was a thing before social media was a thing, right? And that burned a large portion of the population black and white, especially black, but plenty of white people too. And those people looked at the White House and saw a black
Fact.
man, which was already frustrating for them, and they said, "And he's in their pocket too. He let the bankers go free. The billionaires are still billionaires. Forget
Yep.
it. Now
Hmm.
drain the swamp." Now the guy says, "Hey, I'll come drain the swamp." And yes, I'm a billionaire, but I'm also somebody who bucks the system. I'm also someone who did it my way. I'm not, like I don't lead with my academic credentials. I lead with my investments, my investment portfolio. You can do it
Hmm.
too. In fact, here's a university. I mean, it was a fraud, but that's his whole image has been, hey, you can be just like me.
Yeah.
And you find that a lot of people in the country want to be just like him. And to Daisha's point about like the old freedoms versus new freedoms and the old ways versus the new ways, I mean, even look at like the idea of labor laws, right? A lot of them were written either A, when everybody was farming, or B, when everyone worked in a factory. There was no gig economy. There was no internet. There
Hmm.
was
Fact.
no remote work. So labor laws don't reflect any of that. And at the same time, it's also, like I said earlier, illegal to be poor in this country.
Right.
You have to pay to do everything. You have to pay
Right.
to apply to school. You have to like all the things that like you would need to just survive, even if you wanted to live in a cabin by yourself, you'd still have to pay somebody.
Hmm.
Right.
It means
And
you have
Yeah.
to work, and that means you should be protected. It's part of being a stakeholder in this country. If we all see each other as stakeholders.
right. It's illegal to be poor, but capitalism necessitates poverty. Um,
Yeah.
but to move on to the next topic, I want to ask you guys, how do we feel about Black people voting? Should Black people vote in this election? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I think niggas gonna do what they feel is right. I ain't knocking nobody that don't want to go to the polls, and I ain't knocking nobody that do want to go. I don't care. I don't care if Trump is your candidate or Biden is your candidate. I think this time around you should do what you feel is best, and we should see what comes out of that.
I think
Yeah,
we should.
I think I have the same sentiment for the most part. Like, uh, I mean, I think I personally think we as a Black community should probably try and withhold our vote if that were possible, so we can leverage it for some sort of material gains. But yeah, yeah, if you want to vote in this election, go ahead. If you don't want to vote, I'm not knocking you. Do your thing.
I
I can
almost want to go ahead, Aisha.
No, I was just gonna say if we as Black people was like, okay, bet you want a niggas vote, and we were gonna vote as a group and went to the table and was like, we want A, B, C, then a bitch better get out and vote. But that is not the case here. So I would just wanted to say that real quick.
And you know what? That's a good point. It's like as when we talk about the Black vote, what do Black people want to see in this nation? Yeah, I mean, we say a lot of very ambiguous things. We want equality. We want, yeah, but like, let's be very specific on what we want. So that way, when we go to the polls, we know what we're standing there for. Because a lot of us right now, we go to the polls, we just picking between two white men.
And usually we
Except,
just picking the Democrat.
right. Because honestly, some of us don't even know what being a Democrat even means. We just do it because if you Black, you Democrat.
If you don't vote Democrat, you're not Black.
Right, which is crazy because Black people were Republicans before the Civil Rights Act was signed by Lyndon B. Johnson. So when you go back to 1960s, Lyndon B. Johnson said, "I'll have their ass voting Democrat for the next 100 some years." And guess what? That's what's happening. And I like to repeat that just because I think a lot of people say they're Democrat just by default, Black people.
Yeah.
And
White
it's like,
supremacists love to say, "Oh, it was the Republicans who freed the slaves first," like completely
right,
ignoring like the way the parties like switch values and whatnot over time. But whatever.
exactly. Because a Republican in the 60s and the 50s and the 20s is not the same as a Republican today um, for either party. But I think our priorities need to be not our priorities. Our objectives need to be like very streamlined and very easy to understand and for all of us. Because right now, up until up until the whole George Floyd situation and the Black Lives Matter movement coming back, what were black people going to go vote for?
I'm
Well,
guessing it's mine.
they're communities, right? Like there's a federal election, there's state election, and there's your local election. Local election, I implore black people to vote because that's literally where you can see the most tangible change. State
Yeah,
election, you should probably vote too because, again, that matters. And honestly, in a federal election, you should probably vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for because you get to do that math yourself. But you should probably vote. You don't. You're not a bad person for not doing it. You're not even wrong for not doing it. But I'll say this: the idea of withholding your vote and then hoping that one day they'll realize, oh, well, black people aren't voting. Maybe if I can get black people to vote, if I give them this, and they'll come vote for me, and they can just move on, right? Because the election happens with or without black people.
yeah,
So like
yeah,
that's something you have to like. We have to understand that many times in the culture we overstate how much leverage we actually have.
But
Now, the
okay,
Democratic Party, we're watching it fall apart before our eyes, right? We're seeing it be fractured between the more progressive versus the centrist versus whatever. Black people are still trying to figure out where they fit in that. The Republican Party, if they didn't them so much, would have more black people in it. Like there's a good subset of black people who they actually aren't against a lot of Republican policies, but they just can't get vote. They can't vote directly for the overt racism. Um,
yeah.
that's
there's the
true. A
alternative
lot
of starting a party and like picking a state. I'm a big proponent of picking a place, taking over the place, and making that HQ and spreading from there, right? So if you pick a locale and we run our locale, if enough of us move to that locale or around that locale, well, we become major players in a state. If you start with a state, the way the federal laws are set up, you can do a lot for your people in a place. But if you spread us around, or you dilute us by making sure we're minorities everywhere, our vote will count, but only on the margins, not as the central issue, right? Like yesterday, Alan was talking about, oh, Trump might have lost in white women because he was so mean, and it's like they only matter because in most of the country they're like half the population, right? Like in states
Mhm.
in or thereabouts, right? Like so, like you hear people talking about a subsection of a subsection because they're concentrated. So I think voting in this election, that's up to you. Generally speaking, though, I think we need to be more strategic with the vote, not just with our agenda, because I completely agree with you in terms of agenda and streamlining it, but I'm also into let's gerrymander ourselves. Let's give ourselves districts. Let's give ourselves places where our votes legitimately matter. And we can argue amongst ourselves what policies we want and get it done rather than putting our vote in, hoping that the person we put our vote in, many times a white person or a black person in a white space, remembers who voted for him. Like that,
So
there's too many middlemen in that process.
even that seems like a long-term plan. Like, I
Oh,
mean,
for real, it is. It is. But it's something that's actionable, right? It's actionable in the sense of, hey, if we have this neighborhood, if we incorporate a town and we're running a town, we can at least speak for the town. Outside the borders of this town, all right, it's a little different, but we can at least control our environment and then spread from there. Because again, it wasn't a million people that came over from Europe to the United States. It was a few, and they spread. Like it's a slow burn. It's not something that's gonna change the nation. I don't have to change the nation. I just want to make life better for the people around me and my people.
that's so crazy. You mentioned that. I was reading the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers, and the emancipation of the colonies from the Queen and from Great Britain. Like
Hmm.
it's very similar to what we could do from this system. Like you just mentioned, it wasn't a lot of them. It wasn't a million of them, but a few of them came together and say, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start here, take over the Northeast, and then we're going to build our colonies. And eventually they became 50 states. But what's the closest thing to that now that we have? What's a really strong black community? I know a lot of us think of Atlanta first thing in our mind. I don't think of Atlanta first, but what's the closest thing we can get to that?
DC, I guess, would be another one, maybe.
Huh, that's interesting. How that right at the heart of the
Yeah, yeah, that's ironic.
I,
right.
I was just gonna say, I think now people are trying to build up communities and stuff. You know, we saw in Georgia, there's a whole group that got together and bought a bunch of acreage. I don't remember how much they bought, but they're trying to start a whole community exclusive. Not, I don't know if it's exclusively, but for Black people to empower themselves and grow in a space
Yeah.
where only we're around. So I
I'm
think
kind of
that is.
I feel like that's how everyone else did it.
Yeah, I'm here for the go to your hometown, or not your hometown, but like go somewhere, get 10 people, do the right thing, and then those 10 people go somewhere and do the right thing, and now it's 100 people. And yes, I can see that, but I think even some of those steps, there's privilege embedded within it, because when you talk about a community land trust, like, bitch, I couldn't even go in on a community land trust with nobody. So I can only imagine the community of Black people that might be suffering the most still might not even benefit from some of these ideas that we're putting out. And I know that they're seeds to grow over time, so eventually, you know, it will reach back, but I don't know that it touches
I
the
think
weak among us in a meaningful way, so as to really inspire
I think
me
we can
to
take
like.
advantage. I think we can take advantage of like how work is changing, how education is changing, right? I don't think we're married to the soil as much as we used to be. I think we can develop places that in the past weren't useful for development because if you needed to get to work, that wasn't close enough to work. But that's
Mm,
changing, right? So there's new opportunity that isn't tied to a location anymore. And again, this isn't a one size fits all thing. This is a start. There'll be different iterations of this in different locations. But ideally speaking, if we get enough of these to work, we can even have fewer people who don't have access or don't have means, right? Like, because you can fight poverty intra-communally too, right? Like that doesn't have to. We all knock Reagan's trickle down approach. So then let's start a grassroots approach. Like we can. We don't want trickle down. We know trickle down doesn't work. It never gets down. It always get somebody just gets a bucket and catches it before it gets to the bottom. So no, we need to build up from the bottom up. Whether it's somebody with means buying farms, or somebody with means developing properties in places where, okay, I know in other countries, in Barbados, for instance, Microsoft does this thing where they just train a bunch of people to work in coding, and they basically have a coding farm in Barbados. Like that's giving people right. It looks it sounds random, but it's like, hey, people
That's
now have
effective
jobs.
though.
People now have skills. Yeah,
Yeah, because
it,
the
it,
education doesn't mean college anymore.
yeah, yeah. But if we can train people to build their communities, they'll build their communities, and they'll get money, and they'll be able to develop their communities. And it's not something that, again, that doesn't mean you don't put pressure on the federal government. That doesn't mean you don't put pressure on the state government. But in the meantime, when they're doing their bureaucracy, we can be doing some work too. We have teachers,
I
we have administrators. Like,
I mean, so I guess like the way you're approaching this is that we're not already doing stuff like within our communities, like trying to improve them. Is that like I
I
guess
think
the
I think we're trying, but I think there's some constraints that existed 20 years ago that don't exist in the same way that we need to take advantage of.
could you give an example of that?
For instance, high-speed internet. Like there are jobs out there like testing user interfaces for apps that all you need is an internet connection, and you can make more money than you'd make driving Uber, for instance.
I think and I think that's perfectly valid. Um, I guess the only thing I feel is that you don't know what you don't know, right? So some people, they just might not have knowledge of like these different opportunities that are available. They
Mhm.
a lot of times, like if they do have knowledge, they might have stumbled upon it by accident, or they know somebody, but like especially like in certain neighborhoods, like they're just not gonna know about these different opportunities to gain wealth or develop job skills that are necessary uh, for the workplace. Um, so
And
yeah,
here's some free game. Someone's going to make a lot of money bringing those skills to them. Someone is going to make a shit ton of money bringing those skills to places where people don't have them, charging a small fee but getting a lot of people, and then selling those skills to corporations. Unfortunately, maybe not selling it to maybe not building up our community, but selling those skills to corporations.
I feel like Nipsey was
Someone's going
trying
to
to
make
do
a
that.
whole lot of money doing that.
Doing what? What are they doing? What are they going to make money doing? Showing people what remote
Going
opportunities are available to them. Showing communities what remote opportunities.
Like for example, I think Nipsey Hussle. I could be wrong, but I think he went back to his neighborhood and he was like holding coding classes for like a lot of the kids like in the area, and just trying to like teach them that skill, and so they'd be able to use that once they graduate high school or something like that. I think it's either Nipsey or somebody else, but that's an example of what he's talking about.
I have something to add as
Yeah.
well. I agree, Daniel, with what you're saying, but I have one other drawback about that, because I think that part of the issue in America and really across the globe is in othering. So I'm scared of, or no, I'm not scared, but I guess I am scared. Damn, I try not to
concerned?
be careful. I'm concerned. Yeah. I'm concerned. I'm concerned about divvying up different, and I know when we say community, we're talking about building up Black communities. And I agree that is important, but I'm just wary because I know there are a lot of people within the Black community that are like, they don't fuck with white people, whoop de whoop, fuck them crackers, do. And that's fine for people to feel that way, like if that's how you feel. But in reality, racial bias was one of the first like othering tactics that were brought about. Like, we're all human. So I feel like if we break ourselves up like that, it just continues to add to that false narrative. And I always want to stay, like, I feel like I always want to try to stay away from segregating us. Like, people got on, I think it was Terry Crews, right? Terry Crews that was like, as long as what's after white supremacy, Black supremacy, or whatever he said. And what he said, and I mean, it was stupid, and maybe nobody felt like it was a point to be made, but to some people that would say, fuck them crackers, we don't give a fuck, let's build ourselves up. They, like, Black supremacy is what they're thinking about. So, and not everybody, but some people. So I think it's important, like, what he said, maybe it wasn't in the right time and maybe it wasn't worded the right way, but I think that we do have to constantly remain mindful that although the people that are in power now, like, basically, like, yeah, be the bigger person type shit. And that, maybe people don't want to do that, be the bigger person type shit. But I think that when we get back, when we get shit right, it's not going to be right if everybody isn't eating. And so I just try to stay away from, like, I don't know that it's right for us to, I mean, not that it's not right. I think that it feeds a false narrative.
I don't know if you guys can
I'll,
see the
I'll,
chat.
I'll, I'll
Sasuke said they said actually never mind. My bad. Go ahead.
they call that Juku. That's funny. Uh, so I'll say this to that. I'll say it's a lot easier to be the bigger person when you are the bigger person, right? Like it's a lot easier to be the bigger person from a position of power than it is from a position of need.
And they don't even want to do
Once
that.
we create the infrastructure, right? Once you create the infrastructure and you have the community and you have the proper leadership, because leadership is very important here, then the idea of integration and coming in on equal footing is a lot more feasible. Because think of the stereotypes. Look at how white America looks at Black America. They look at Black America, former slaves, welfare cases. They look at them like visitors that were stuck in the house. That like, what do we do with these guys?
Facts.
And it's a terrible way. Like you have to understand that like we're not trying to take over America. We're trying to be free first. And then once you're free, then you can go talk and say, hey, I have this, you have that. We can trade. We can do things. But until we bring something to that table, until we produce things, until we can honestly take care of ourselves, we'll just keep asking them to take care of us. And when you ask someone, guess what? They can say no.
Yeah, just
I
like
think we just need to put ourselves in a position where we can't be told no. Go ahead. My bad.
no, just to kind of piggyback off your point, I think Black people as a collective, we're always stuck trying to earn somebody's respect, like demanding respect, when really we should earn our own respect and we'll be recognized, right? And just recently, I don't know if you guys were listening to the news, but I'm an IT consultant at Wells Fargo, and Charlie Schwartz came out and said there's a limited talent pool.
You told me that.
Talent pool, right? And in my head, it explodes. I'm like, what? I know so many talented Black professionals. But then when I think about the collective, and then when Daniel mentioned like not having training and people not having these skills that honestly don't even have to go to school for, and it's true, like especially IT. IT is not something you got to go to college for. Like you don't learn IT through a book, okay? You don't read up on how to IT. Like, no, information technology is based on, first of all, experience and just hands-on training. That's it, really what it comes down to. Even with auditing, you have to have some kind of like, I guess, accounting or financial background. But to audit IT, if you understand coding, if you understand programs and databases and so forth, you can make it work. But there is, like, I don't agree with what Charlie Schwartz said, because there's no way to correct that. But then I do think about our communities don't have the same opportunities because there's certain things we don't know. Like there's so many people in IT that don't look like me, and there's so many people in certain fields, and there's not a predominant population of Black people in there. And we have to earn that respect. We can get those same trainings. Like we have to bring it back to our neighborhood, back to our communities. So I agree with you on that, like building our communities, but we have to present those opportunities to them. We can't just can't keep begging for respect.
I want to go back to Terry Crews and like what he was saying about like we don't want to have a Black supremacy. Like I guess my issue with what he was saying was that we're nowhere even near close to a Black supremacy, right? Like it reminds me of the Malcolm X quote where he's like in order to make like racial progress, it's like a knife in your back, and America hasn't even acknowledged that the knife is there. Like progress isn't pulling it out. Progress isn't it like progress is only when the wound starts healing. That's when you get progress. And America hasn't even acknowledged that the knife is there. And I feel like that's where we're at with Black people, like in our place in this country. Like we're nowhere near even close to getting to like a Black supremacy. So for him to like make that comment, like, yeah, a lot of Black people do have I guess prejudice, feelings and reactions towards white people, and we can debate all day whether that's valid or not. But at the end of the day, like on a systemic level, like black people aren't going to be able to harm white people in any real meaningful way, um, like how white people can do black people with their racist thoughts and actions. And so I guess like my issue with Terry Crews is just like, what are your priorities? Like, why would you even bring up a black supremacy when white supremacy is the overwhelming issue that that we're dealing with right now?
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, he shouldn't have said. I don't agree with what he said, but I'm just saying I think what he meant by that was a valid conversation, but and it's valid too. What he was saying, like, well, who is black? Because my grandma just was saying this, like, in very loose language, but like the Black Lives Matter people went up there and they said what it was, and they also said who was and who wasn't black. So and we do that a lot within the black community. We say who is and who isn't black. So I'm just saying, like, Terry Crews got flack like the rest of the world. People be getting canceled left and right, but I feel like people hear what they want to hear more than they hear what people are actually saying. And he didn't say white supremacy isn't the reigning thing today. He was just saying, like me, Terry Crews, I'm married to a white woman. Where do I fit into this narrative? I think.
Yeah, but it's just the fact that he brought up black supremacy. Like, there's no need for that.
He's
like,
married to a white woman, right?
I thought she was just super light skinned. I
think she's like Hispanic. Well, I mean, yeah, maybe a white.
Oh, maybe she's not a white woman, but I think he was just expressing his personal perspective, his personal view, and that is valid for people to do.
That's why a nigga called Jim Crow shouldn't be speaking, because he don't know what he's talking about.
Lord have mercy.
Hey man, call this man Jim Crow.
Oh man.
Hey, I think as a nation, we need to stop valuing. Putting so much value into what celebrities say. I'm so sick and tired of it. I feel like that's how Trump became president in the first place. Because at the end of the day, this man was nothing but a celebrity. Then all of a sudden, he our president. That's why people like Kanye and all these funny cats think they can just run for president now, because the world cares more about opinions than actually getting real work done.
Dog, imagine if it was a 3-way debate with Kanye last night. Imagine that.
Hey, but I'll be honest.
Put Kanye on the stage.
But listen, I feel like Kanye would have dominated that debate. First of all, ain't nobody better at interrupting people. Ain't nobody more controversial.
He would have came from behind the podium. He would have walked into the. I don't even know if there were
I
other
would have
people.
cried real
He
tears.
would have been walking around. He would be walking around. This, all this.
Hey man, I don't think there was. I mean, that probably would have been the cherry on the top, because there was nothing more entertaining than that debate.
That would have been peak television. Peak.
It was cringe. It was. I mean, I don't know if there was anything that had higher ratings, but it was a cringe fest. Like, it was hard at times to watch. Like, ooh.
A very sad pissing contest.
Oh my God! Stop. Oh, yo, you know what killed me every time? When Biden would hit one of these, look dead in the camera. America. Just Trump is like, what have you done in 47 years? You're trash. Get out of here. Your son did crack. $3.5 billion. Where did that come from? Oh my God. Yo, chill out. Biden says, keep yapping, man. Keep yapping. I'm like, oh man. He swooped down to his level. I was like, this is. But yeah, man, we need to stop.
Terry Crews' wife is black.
Yeah.
I thought they said that she was white. Okay, whatever. It's still
Wait, Terry Crews' wife is black?
Allegedly, man. I might have to fact check Satsuki. I don't know about that.
Can we put it up? Can we put her up? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Can we put her?
Let's go ahead and get a blood sample.
I wonder if I can put pictures on here.
Needless to say, man, I think sometimes when celebrities say,
I mean, I don't think we give. I mean, we do give more weight to their opinions, but I think it's more about the celebrity status already, and not the opinion that they're saying. Not that the opinion that they have has so much weight on it. Just that, like you were saying, before other people can respect us, we have to respect ourselves. And a lot of us, put a lot of the respect on celebrities rather than on our own opinions. So we cling to celebrities that talk about things that are, somewhat similarly aligned with what we would say should we ever get celebrity status, instead of feeling as though, no, bitch, you have celebrities. Step into your deity, okay, plug. But also, you have celebrity status already, so talk your shit. Talk your shit.
But hold on now. We got to remember the toxic culture of America.
Okay.
The only way people should respect you, or you deserve any respect, or people should listen to your opinion, is if you have money.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. And Terry Crews, we'll listen to Terry Crews because we see him on White Chicks flex his pectoral muscles. We know he got money. So we're going to say, oh, his opinion must count. He got money. Donald Trump opinion must count because he got money. But really, our principles are ass backwards, because a man's principles are not based on how much money he has. It's about his integrity, his moral code, his character. But those things don't count. So becoming a celebrity actually means doing the opposite of those things. Because think about all the celebrities.
My bad. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying all the celebrities that we look up to and that we model after are people that don't always do the most, integrity prone or character driven type of things. Like, I mean, I'm not knocking Terry Crews and his success, but who is he for him to, why do I care what Terry Crews is talking about?
Well,
Right.
I think
Quick interruption. I don't know if y'all can see on the screen. I got Terry Crews and his wife up here. What do y'all
we
think?
can't see the wife.
You can't see the wife?
We see the restream.
What the?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, you gotta change the screens because all I see is we lost Daniel.
I don't know how to do that.
Damn. Okay, but Martin, what I was gonna say.
Oh, he's here.
Daniel's here.
There you go.
Okay, bet. What I was gonna say is that damn, I forgot. Oh, you were saying morals and integrity and character and blah blah blah.
Yeah, who needs that?
Can y'all see it now?
I think that stuff is important.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Bro,
That's
she's
a black
black.
woman.
She's black.
Right there.
She black?
Yeah.
She black.
Come on, that's a black woman.
That's a black woman, right?
Look at her cheekbones. Bro. Look at her cheekbones. Look at her nose.
Did y'all? I don't know. Did y'all hear about that black professor who mimicked being a black woman? It'd be the same thing, man. I don't know.
Stop. Nah, that's a black woman, bro. I know. Come on.
Yeah, I know a black woman when I see one.
Immediately, bro, you can see her eyes. It's just, come on, man. You know black woman's presence when you feel it.
Dice, didn't you used to call your mom white because she's so light skinned?
Yeah, I do. We be running the mill with her, especially when she'd be like, "Well, if I was white, girl."
I don't know if you could trust your opinion on blackness right now.
Damn.
Y'all
Hey, that's
about
crazy,
to go
bro.
in on my mom though.
That's what I'm about to say. Hey, he going low blow. He going Joe Biden and Donald Trump low.
Oh man, let me stop.
Golly.
Bro, they started bringing each other's family into it. Joe Biden said, "Don't make me start talking about your family." I was like, "Damn, y'all boys not holding no punches, no respect." Like, don't let me talk about that horrible wife you have over there. He's like, God, yo, Biden, chill. Biden, stop. Biden, chill.
Wait, what?
Nah, but I just feel like Biden probably would have said something crazy off air, though. I know he was hot after that meeting.
All right, wow.
I mean, after that debate.
I know Biden was talking cat shit after the debate.
Obama was like, "Come on, man! I told you not to go where he
Obama
goes."
didn't even watch.
How could you? How could you? I don't think.
Why would he?
There's a few times I honestly thought about turning the sound off, and like maybe they'll sound more intelligent if I don't hear the words.
It was bad, man. It was like
It was-
I don't even know where to start with how bad it was, because it wasn't like they were comparing policies. They were just like saying stuff. And
It was a rogue session. It was wild and out. It was the white versus. That's what it was.
Oh yeah, that's what they said. White versus
Hey,
screaming.
but I feel like no one checks Trump on this. This man will say a lot of nothing, and no one would say anything about it. I'm like, he's like, yeah, we have a very big policy, very tremendous. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about?
Yo, that's
Very,
not bad
very
Trump impression.
tremendous.
Yo, him and the word tremendous. I'm like, bro, if he said it,
he does the ESPN thing where he just makes up records, and he was like, "This is the biggest June to July jump in jobs we've ever seen in American history since the Great Depression." And it's like, so
your president said,
Right.
the economy,
Who
it's going
cares?
way up. It's going way up. It's going way up. Okay, what does that mean, bro? Can you give me some metrics? Can you give me some specifics? Like, what's going way up?
It's going bigly. It's going
Bigly.
humongous. The most you've ever seen.
The growth is tremendous. The biggest we've ever seen.
Dog.
Tell me this. When they started comparing the death tolls to different diseases, Trump said, well, you lost 14,000 during swine flu. Well, you lost 200,000. Well, that's not as many dead people as you. I'm like, yo, what y'all talking about?
Right.
Well, what are y'all really saying here? I mean, well, I killed less people than you. What about that? Like,
But to his credit, for his base and for the Republican Party, he's very good politically. Like, he knows exactly what he needs to do to like keep those people. Isatsky says like he's very good at evading questions, changing the narrative, and like big upping his accomplishments while like downplaying everything else.
yes. No, he's really good at that. He was like, did you hear? They said I did such a great job. I had such great reviews. Only the media. Fake news. I'm like,
my question is this, right? If the media is against him, who's giving the reviews?
I don't know.
Like, where are you getting the good reviews from if the media is against you? Like, I don't understand. Like,
Hey.
I'm sure he has an answer for it.
In terms of confidence, I'm gonna give Trump an A+. Okay?
Yeah.
Because the way Trump came in like a boxer with heavy hands with no technique. He's like, if he throw one and it lands, it's gonna hurt.
Trump and Deontay Wilder got a lot in common. I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Exactly. I don't need no real skill. I just need to throw these hands. Yeah, but too bad we don't have a Tyson Fury on the other side, because
Yeah.
what we had there, that man said.
I'm actually surprised generally by the Democratic Party's lack of like a viable candidate in the last. They had 4 years to figure it out and they didn't, and I'm surprised at that, honestly.
The Democratic Party is horrible as like a collective.
Because you legit could have started 4 years ago in like figuring it out.
Right.
I don't know
What is all
gonna
this
happen.
time been? They came with a candidate who Hillary's probably a better candidate than Joe, honestly.
Problem is Hillary's too cocky to actually like campaign.
Yeah,
Like, she's entitled as hell, and
right.
that ruined her chances, in my opinion.
I disagree, man. I don't mess with Hillary at all. I'll never give her any credit. So
I feel that. I don't even want to give her any credit
I'm
either.
not a Hillary fan either. Like, I'm
I'll
very
vote for
much
Joe. You know what I mean? We're gonna go back to the question: should Black people vote, man? I say vote at your own consent. I agree with all you. Vote at your own consent. But if you didn't vote this year, no one's gonna be mad at you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of go vote. There's a lot of go vote commercials. I mean, shit.
Go
this coming-
vote. If you don't vote, you're.
But I will say to the white people telling us to vote, don't tell Black people to vote. Go talk to your mom, your dad, your grandparents, your siblings, and tell them not to vote for Trump. Because don't tell us to vote. Don't tell Black people to vote.
Hey, but you know what, bro? I'm telling you, man, hypocrisy runs in the veins of America. Like I have a neighbor, I'm not gonna say their name, but she's a Trump supporter, right? But she wants to talk about these riots in the street with me. I was like, you kind of disqualify yourself to having that conversation because something you say is gonna strike me the wrong way. You know what I mean? Like you support the person that's actually saying stand by to these motherfuckers. You understand?
Right.
That he's saying, hey, look, when I say go and get him. You know what I mean? It's like having a vicious dog on a chain, and you're like, I'm gonna let him loose on you. It's like, what?
They gonna rationalize it some way.
Come on, bro. And that's why, I think if you're a Trump supporter or if you're a white male, female, and you're talking about, oh, black people, you should go vote, that's a slap in my face because I'm not voting for Trump. And it's really hard to vote for Biden because then it feels like, I might as well just vote independent.
I just hate how they try to put the onus on black people. Like, oh, if you don't vote, like you're the reason that Trump's gonna be reelected. When it's like, no, like white men and white women, I believe more than 50% on both sides voted for Trump. Like these are the people y'all need to be attacking and make sure.
What about Hispanics?
Say what?
What about Hispanics?
Even like black people, obviously black women didn't vote for Trump the most, and then after that is black men. But then everybody else like voted for Trump in larger numbers than us. But yet the way they frame it is that, oh, black people need to vote against Trump, blah 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 blah. When it's like it's really not even our responsibility.
Damn, that was really tragic the way you put that. That like really hurt. Like
I think part of it too, though, is right. When it comes to Trump, we might have the most to lose out of all these demographics we've mentioned. Might be why the onus may be on us or they're making us the face or putting the onus.
What we gonna lose?
What are we gonna lose? All right,
if Trump wins,
let's look at what we've lost in the last 4 years and then see what's left, right? So the police reforms we were having, I mentioned the Holder Report, the accountability measures that were put in, what was it called? Consent decrees. There we go.
But are those even relevant when we were seeing the same type of issues in presidencies before Trump? We saw, I don't know the names of within the time frames, but the same things that we're seeing right now, George Floyd, this isn't new. These things have been happening.
These happened under Obama's administration. Like, and
we were, because here's the thing, right? Obama is probably the first president we've had in the modern era to actually even look into the issue, like, period. So here's the thing, right? It's steps. Obama wasn't ever going to come and save the day. I'm not an Obama fan, generally speaking, because his foreign policy is trash, especially towards black countries, and that's always been weird to me. But that's another discussion.
All right, I can fuck with
that. But locally, he was on the cusp of something that was immediately rolled back, and the fact that it was rolled back shows that it was part of the agenda to roll it back, right?
What are you talking about?
Okay, so the investigations to law enforcement around the country. When you get a chance, take a look at the Holder Report and see what the conclusions it came to and the solutions it came to.
You're talking about like the infiltration of like white supremacists,
right, and then consent decrees to hold police departments accountable, to make it transparent. Communities can police their police departments. That was immediately rolled back. So like,
okay,
that affects us. That's one.
Okay, yeah.
Number two, access to education. Under the Obama era, we saw more black people go to school, go to college than ever before in American history. Now, what they did with that education or how they entered, that's up for debate, but there's personal choice in there too. But access to education is huge. As far as all the stuff we talked about in terms of solutions we can do for ourselves, most of them we need some level of education for that. So that's two.
Okay.
Is there another one? Because for all of these, there's something that Trump did too in justice.
Sure. And I would say for black people specifically, I mean,
Yeah.
it depends on your views on Obamacare, right? Because
Okay, healthcare. Yeah, we can't.
healthcare is a big deal,
I don't think he got
right?
nothing.
There's a lot of black wealth lost to poor health outcomes.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people that would be investing in property if they weren't spending the money on medication.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a drain.
Mm-hmm.
And Obama dealt with that head on, even though it was neutered by the time it got passed for the most part. But like, it helped. I mean, I have family members who, thanks to Obamacare, had access to life-saving medicine. Like, I saw a news report just yesterday that because of COVID, a lot of diabetes patients who live near the Canadian border don't have access to the insulin they were getting before because they had to go to Canada because they were paying 15 times more if they bought it in America.
Mm.
And those are things that were actively rolled back by Trump. So on a very, just in summation, health, education, policing. Again, he had so much more he probably should have done. I wish he had done, or wish someone would continue. But those were also three things that were deliberately attacked under the Trump administration, which he's going to roll back further. So the idea that he didn't know, Barack Obama did not save Black America at all. To say he
No.
did nothing is listening to nonsense right-wing talking points, plain and simple.
I can agree with that. Go ahead, Daisha, and then I'm probably gonna piggyback off of what you said.
I know. I was just gonna say, yes, agreed. He didn't save Black America. Agreed. He didn't do nothing. But disagreed to the extent that any of these presidents serve our interests whatsoever.
As a general rule.
Okay, wait,
Black
maybe
people-
agreed.
Talking about
as a general
black
rule.
people interests?
Agreed. Okay, so we agree.
Yeah.
You talking about black people's interests?
Yeah, Black people's interests, but generally, also, I don't think they serve the interests of anybody below the upper middle class.
Got you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I was just gonna say that I feel like I lost my point. You were saying that Trump, I guess this election is gonna affect black people the most. I'm not even sure if that's true. I feel like, we might definitely be affected, but I feel like the Hispanic population, more importantly, like immigrants coming over from like Mexico, they'll be affected, maybe more than us.
I'll say
Just-
this.
Go ahead.
ICE has deported a significant number of Haitians, a significant number of Africans who have tried to come through those same borders. Now, the face of immigration at the border is Hispanic people.
Well,
When you actually break down the numbers, it's
yeah,
a black issue.
fair enough.
I'm
I
here
guess
for that. Let us not forget. Okay, go ahead, Cindy.
No, I guess I was mainly speaking on the concentration camps that they got going on. But either way, with all that aside, I don't think that even if this is gonna affect black people the most, like I don't think it's anything different than what we've seen the last 60 or so years voting. You know, we've been voting and we've been perpetually in the same situation. And so like I don't think it's our responsibility even if Trump is going to be elected, like, and black people don't vote, I don't think that's our responsibility. Like, white people want him overwhelmingly. You know, I don't think the onus should be placed on us, and I don't think it should be framed as such. You know, if anything, put it on the other people of color. People want to talk about POC solidarity. Where, you know, why are y'all voting for Trump at such a high rate?
I'm not moved by like the rhetoric of, oh, it's your fault this guy's in office. It doesn't move me. I'm more concerned with, all right, who can we hold the most accountable? Who, even if they don't have our best interests, who at least has parallel interests so that he's not stopping what I'm trying to do.
Well, what do we look at the platinum plan? Okay, but also what I was gonna say about immigration, Daniel, you didn't bring immigration up, and maybe that's because you're you know what's up. But
Yeah.
Obama was deporting.
Terrible. Yeah, he was the deporter in chief, but
All right.
concentration camps weren't a thing though.
He built the cages though.
He deported people. Yes. He
He
didn't,
built the cages too.
but he didn't have concentration camps. Like it wasn't Korematsu
He wasn't
Part Two.
committing genocide,
Yeah, like there's
hysterectomies,
levels, you know. Like again,
sterilizing women.
Obama was president of the United States, and he stood for everything the United States stands for, and that usually isn't in the best interest of Black people. We're on the same page there.
Yeah, facts.
But again, when we fall for the rhetoric that they're all the same, it creates this cynicism that doesn't do us any good either. It doesn't, you know, we can't even take baby steps because we're like, no, I'm just going to sit here until someone listens to me. No one's going to listen to you. They're going to keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you vote anyway.
Ooh.
What am I getting from you? I don't know. Sometimes I like to do this thing where I look at political issues from the view of someone who isn't a minority and say, all right, do my interests align with their interests? And if they don't, so what? I think the thing I've been on right now is, all right, once we come to our conclusions, so? And if your so doesn't hold weight, that's why none of your issues are getting addressed. Right? We have to make it such that's why I'm so big on like, hey, let's build for ourselves so that our so holds weight.
It's just
it's hard. It's not going to happen quickly.
Hard.
And it's not even something you can do by yourself per se. It's something that like you need to build a network. That's why discussions like this are important because, okay, if I'm telling a few people and you're telling a few people and we build a network, we can get something done and we won't save the day. It's not a movie. It's not Avengers. We're not going to beat Thanos at the end of this. Like,
fuck that. We're going to beat Thanos.
I don't know. You finna get snapped.
boom.
Dice is gonna be the first one. The dust. Yeah, you finna be.
It's a coin flip, so you know,
I'm screaming.
half of us gonna be gone.
I played with this hypothetical with a friend the other day, and I was like, hey, America is real messed up right now. It's real weak, generally speaking. Like we can see the institutions crumbling. What happens if another country invaded? Where do Black people fall in that?
It might depend on the country.
All right, the two most likely probably Russia and China.
Oh, I'm taking my ass back to Haiti.
I mean,
hey.
I mean, they coming for the cities first, probably, right? And
I would imagine so.
Yeah, so I mean,
see what's up with Ye. See what's up with Kanye.
A lot of poor Black people will obviously get caught in the crossfire.
So the question is, are we stakeholders in this country or no?
No.
Oh,
well, then doesn't matter who invades because we're not stakeholders anyway.
Yeah, I think they would leave us as peons.
Gentrification is...
They'd be like, nah, y'all.
Gentrification was the pandemic before the pandemic. Literally watching Black neighborhoods disappear overnight, like on some Thanos stuff. Like literally, condo. Like it's just like let's just start building stuff. Let's just destroy the projects. Hate to say it, but where were we living? In the projects, lower income neighborhoods, and what they were doing, using that and capitalizing off of it. Cheap land, build this condo, and make hundreds and millions of $1,000s off of it. If you were a stakeholder, how can something with value be taken away from me so easily? Because I'm not valuing what I actually have. I don't even understand what I have. I don't understand the value of my community. So as a stakeholder, we really hold no weight because our shares can be taken away from us just like that.
Well, we gave them the shares in that scenario, right? Like we didn't know what we had. And when they said, hey, I could buy your house for you for 5% above market value. And you're like, oh, sure, I'll make a quick buck. I don't know how you 9-to-5 niggas do it. And then they turn it into $1 million condos. And we're like, hey, that's on us to a degree too.
But it's not always like that, right? Like sometimes
I
just heard about a situation like this. But like sometimes they'll like for example, I think I can't name the city, but there was a situation where this housing development they wanted to build like in these projects, and the people, they couldn't get the people to leave. So what they did was they got the police to start arresting people
Yeah.
there for petty crimes or whatever, and getting them out their apartments just so they could clear it. Like doing stuff like that. Also, it's not always that we don't know
That's a
what
fact.
we have. It's a lot of times it's just white supremacy at work,
Yeah, that's a fact.
and we're being infiltrated. Like there's stuff that we can't defend against without certain resources, and it's been like that since the
What are the resources we
country.
need to like prevent that? What do you think? What do you think the resources we need to prevent that are?
I
Prevent.
think
like
I think
given that specific situation.
Yeah, that specific situation. Because I actually read something the other day saying that there's an idea that even the Breonna Taylor case has a lot to do with that. I read that in a few places, and I was like, I don't know enough, but
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you can defend against that. Like, and that's why a lot of this stuff, it just needs to be cut off at the root, because like how do you defend against the police just coming to arrest people en masse, and
Unless you,
and
um,
huh?
I was gonna say, unless you pick up arms and against them, because it's clear that the courts aren't going to handle.
Right, that's an option. But then, okay, yeah, you kill a few cops, and then they send like the militia, or Trump sends the National Guard or whatever. Like who? Like I don't know what the answer to that is.
I agree with what you said. Get at the root. I think a part of it is when it was written up, the stakeholders that were in mind were the whites and the white males. So I think a part of, because that's all it is, right? We read, what was that case that we read? Like basically, fuck, it's like the first case in property, or is it in constitutional?
What happened?
No, it's in property.
What happened?
The Indians have, Native Americans have like a shit ton of land, and we come in and we're like, oh no, we're claiming this land, and we're gonna do this with it, and we're gonna do this with it, and the court's like, okay, well they're gonna utilize the land, they're going to create more value from the land, so it looks like the land belongs to them. So Native Americans, y'all have no more say to this property. Like it's just all made up. They just
exactly, and then it eventually it just comes down to might is right, because
that's always been the case.
Yeah, but it's like how are you going to come in and impose your framework of government or law onto another person's land, and then like if they don't agree with it, oh okay, we'll just shoot you because we have superior technology. Like, like
that's
something that like, you're right. Might makes right. We have to put ourselves in a position to get might though.
Okay.
Because we won't get right until we get might, right? Like that's not something we can.
But okay, so wait. My question then is, how do you as a people put yourself in a position to get might
right.
in a country that its inception was founded on quelling your might, quelling your power, and it does so perpetually throughout decades, centuries? How do you do that?
In particular examples like gentrification, I think if we came stronger as a community and really valued our communities, they couldn't just barge into our homes and tell us, hey, yo, I'm a come and get this off of you. You know what I mean? I think we would understand the value of our communities and we wouldn't give them up so easily. But there's different methods that apply. I think we need to understand our rights in this country. I think a lot of times we don't know our rights. We don't. And it's a hard combat, bro. I think the supreme race in this country is white. So if you're not sure of yourself, or if you have any inkling of a doubt, they will squash you. And I think a lot of times we're not united enough, or not enough of us are really fully, I would say, empowered within our race or with who we are. And that's why we lose the way we lose. And that's why the might is like, we never have You know, I mean, we're always in checkmate. We're always in checkmate because we don't even know where we're moving on the board. You know,
I
I
wonder.
think
I wonder if there's a way we can make it not worth it for them.
not worth it.
Yeah, for like to move us out of our neighborhoods because
we're too valuable.
it's not because they moved the people out, so it's the land that was valuable in this
Yeah.
gentrification scenario, right?
Oh, and gentrification.
Yeah. But
We're too afraid of their retaliation.
I think so, right? I think we should just have to like say, well, if you retaliate, but I'm not just gonna leave. Like I'm not just
But
gonna roll over.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say though. To Martin's point, though, in the Constitution it says they can take any property they want upon just compensation. So even if we got together and was like, nah, we not gonna sell grandma house, nah, they could like the government could take the house, and the government is in cahoots with a lot of private entities. So I don't think it's that far off to believe that they would do that. I mean, they might.
It's not that far off, right? But like, still.
That just takes us back to like literally fuck the government because that's who. I agree with everybody saying. I agree with everybody saying that this is going to be a long-term battle. You know,
So,
a few months ago, I was like, "Oh, we ready to get in the trenches," but nah, we not ready. It might be like 2
also
years.
the idea of fuck the government. All right, cool. So, just that's my test for everything. All right, now what?
So
Wait,
I like
so
that.
wait, what? Okay, the idea.
Okay, your conclusion we got to, right, was fuck the government. All right,
Yeah.
so
So
now that we've gotten there, so what? What does fuck the government look like?
what? Oh, fuck the government.
Yeah.
Huh? Fuck the
Damn.
government looks like getting with a neutral or disinterested third party private company, creating a blockchain voting system, having a nationwide election to
Create a new
Wait, through a
government.
third party private company?
yes, get with Yang. Get with Yang. He know them people. He know them techies.
Wait,
And
but
he-
for the federal government? I'm
Oh,
confused.
us, like grassroots, like, hey, what's up, Yang? Like,
So
we
you're
know
basically saying create a parallel government. We're like, nah, we listen to them, not y'all.
not create the parallel government. I'm just saying if they don't want to have a convention, because really we could use the structures that are already in place, but it's shady as fuck and nobody trusts that system. So I'm saying create the third party, have a nationwide election, elect a constitutional representative group to draft up a new foundation for the country, and thereafter transition. Boom. It's a done deal.
How many people you think you need to do that?
To do which part? The whole thing?
Yeah.
I think to create the blockchain voting system would
to actually vote in the system.
to vote the whole what we have written down in the constitutional amendment package we have now is that I think at least 60% of the population votes in the election of the constitutional representatives to validate it.
So we need 60% of the United States of America
to vote in this parallel government.
To vote, yeah.
I mean, we could just buy guns at that point. Like, that's mad people. That's mad people.
You gotta be a believer, bro.
But literally,
I'm a believer.
niggas
But I also know that the more people you need in a plan, the harder it is to get it to work. That's why it's a lot easier to like coach basketball than football.
I mean, no, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, but I think that if we get all this shit together and say, you know, this is how it's gonna go. It's not gonna be, you know.
She finna manifest it.
Listen, bitch, I might.
But maybe we just need a
Coming
picture and
soon.
like buy an island and start a new country and call it a day because
I'm here
it's
for
right.
buying an island and starting.
Hey, so that
Keep me
black
updated.
separatism?
I'm here for the island.
Should we just
But
separate?
I don't agree with the separation because I feel like America and a lot of the other powerful countries, it don't matter where you're at. that like niggas are about to be in space. Like if we get together and buy an island and we're
Imagine being segregated on the moon, son. You know how tight I would be? Like,
Oh, I can't go over to that crater.
yeah, right? Like, Mars is whites only? Damn.
Wow,
Like, I can't.
that's crazy.
screaming.
Hey, you know what, man? Let me go ahead and just make this point real quick, and I'll probably get canceled for this. But you know what? Me no give a fuck. Um, so I think we've talked about a lot of things today. We've talked about politics. We've talked about white supremacy. We talked about even black supremacy, if that's a thing. But I don't think we ever addressed the correlation between black people and God.
Mm.
We can't do what America does, right? Try to run the world and manipulate human beings with policies and procedures and changing law really at the strike of a pen, they can change whatever. But I think our real discourse and our real strife now is turning our backs on God. I'm not trying to get religious. Anytime black people have ever been set free, anytime black people have ever been liberated, anytime that black people have ever revolted or ever come against, it has always been from the power of God. I'm not trying to be religious here, but let's look at America for where it is right now. America has turned their backs on God, period. And we're seeing the most chaos. We're seeing the most disorganization. I mean, y'all saw it last night, man. Y'all saw the debate. Like, we're losing all of it. I think I was talking to one of my mentors, and we came to the conclusions, like, when God is punishing a nation, he gives them a wicked leader. He gives them a very nasty person at leadership. And we've always seen it from Rome. We've seen it from so many great civilizations and great empires. I think we are neglecting the fact that we have no kind of spiritual pull in this battle. We really don't. I mean, I look at all the great leaders we've had, Malcolm X, I've had Martin Luther King. They all had some kind of spiritual guidance or some kind of foundation they stand up on. I think right now as a black nation, we're really going off of, well, I got more degrees than you. I got more followers than you. I got more clout than you. So that's what makes me able to speak on these things. And it's like no one really stands on anything. I know this is a completely outlier point, but I solely believe in it. I believe in the Deuteronomy prophecy. There's blessings and there's curses. And if you continue to disobey, you will continue to get, continue to, reap the benefits of, you reap what you sow type of thing,
There's something to that. There's something to that.
I'm not.
Honestly, a step further and say, at the very least, it gives us at least a similar moral code to start from and go from there.
Right.
Because we
like having that.
Say that again?
Y'all
Like
gonna
having
lose
it as a
people.
vacuum.
Y'all gonna lose people trying to make them adhere to Christian values.
It's not even Christianity though. God isn't
Okay, what is
Christian.
it? What is it? because
Is God
because
Christian?
my God doesn't recognize positive or negative, good or bad. So you even saying that a wicked leader would be brought upon us, I don't resonate with that. You know what I mean? So like, and even the idea of moral compass, values,
Oh man.
life
Oh,
is a spectrum.
oh, oh,
I'm about to go
so,
in.
so yeah, because like
It's a
this,
whole spectrum. So even if
yeah,
you're over here and I'm over here, it doesn't mean that because what's over here is good or what's over here is bad. So I think
Is
you gonna
racism
lose.
good or bad?
I recognize what Daisha's saying. This is like a kind of like a really philosophical discussion at a certain point, because but like I agree also with what like Martin's trying to say, or like
With
I feel
Martin.
like as a country, like we do need like some kind of moral foundation in order to like move forward for everybody. Now like what that moral foundation is and how we go about selecting that all ventures into the territory of philosophy and ethics and normative ethics, meta ethics, all that. So
I'm not
I
trying to
think
push it.
I agree with I agree with there being some foundation. I don't know what everybody's definition of moral is, so I'm not going to put the term moral in front of foundation, but I agree there has to be some baseline, and I too agree that lack of
I hate
recognition.
stuff like
What?
this. I hate
Which
when you do this argument. Well,
oh,
every word is
and I too.
arbitrary.
No.
Nothing.
I also
There is
agree
no
that
right or wrong. Oh my gosh, bro.
no. I agree, Martin, too, that God should be in the conversation as well. But I think people's definitions of God is different. So that also,
Right.
you know,
Malcolm X's God and Martin Luther King's God was different, but they both were able to lead Black people into a better, you know what I mean, to equality, to fight towards the same cause. Like, I think that's the difference, because I'm not saying that you have to be part of a religion or have to be. I just think you have to acknowledge God and what He stands for, because I don't even think we do that anymore. You know.
So,
look, see, you lost me. Talk about
oh,
what he.
so
Okay, I say He.
wait, hold
How
on,
we
hold on.
define God.
No,
Hold on. I want
no,
to I want to pull up the
no.
what
God is
Taylor was
one.
saying. I want to pull up what Taylor was saying about like white evangelicals, Christians. Like, what about
Oh,
their God? You know,
Can I
what
can I
about
can I talk about
their
that?
perception of God and how they view it? Like, do we allow that within this framework? How do we go ahead, Daniel?
All right. So here's the thing, right? White people bastardize God to their end. Like, that's just the foundation. Like, the foundation of this country is they wanted to do some fuck shit and said, yeah, we're doing it, so God must want us to do it. That's
I mean, yeah.
that's just how they started the country off rip. So the Jerry Falwells of the world and the all the pastors around Trump and whatnot, most of them are on the tip of, hey, we're gonna do what we want to do, and as long as we're successful, the assumption is God okayed it, and if we're not successful, I guess that's not what He wanted. The need for God in a country, though, is it keeps everyone accountable, right? Because this idea that we make up our morals, yeah, we do make up our morals, but like, what happens when we change our morals? Shit goes left. And I don't mean that politically. I just mean it just goes left. Like, actually politically too, it does go left. But with that being said, there isn't the fact that we can talk about everything else real straightforward, and as soon as God gets brought up, it's like, well, I think this and I think that, and so we can't even start there. Nah, that just shows that we've actually fallen into this idea of what God looks like in terms of the white people we've seen bastardize God.
So do we think we need like some form of institutionalized religion, word to what Taylor was saying, or like should we? Is it okay if we just had like a set of principles? Because like if you think about it, the way this country was founded, now noting that those principles didn't apply to Black people, but like land of liberty and justice for all, like it pretty much worked for the most part for white people, and it's these are principles, moral foundations that have that started at the inception of this country, and they remain here to this day, kinda, for the most part. So like, do we need like the spiritual idea of God or institutionalized religion, or can we have like these moral principles that we fall back on and use to help further the country?
I'll say this. I'm a Christian, so I'm almost biased in this discussion. But as a general rule, I say I don't want to stop religion. I don't want to stop spirituality. Any place that doesn't have spirit becomes mechanical and then becomes oppressive.
I respect that point, and I respect the fuck out of that point. But all I'm saying is that I think that there's a difference between spirituality and religion, and you agree with that, right?
Yeah.
And I think that spirituality is built off of some of those tools that I talked about earlier that we didn't have access to. Those tools being self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. I think with self-awareness and emotional intelligence, you're more likely to get to a foundation, some might say a moral foundation, that is palatable for the masses rather than for particular groups practicing particular religion. So I don't mean to say that God can't be in it, because look, God is in me. Like, nigga, I'm here, and we all are. But what I'm saying is that the way that we talk about those things has to change. Like you said, the white man's God. Like, I think that through self-development and education and things like that, you come to a better understanding of yourself, the God within yourself, and how that relates to the larger universal God. And thereafter, you can have more productive conversations. But to like approach the situation, maybe that's what you were saying, Martin, but you said he and do, and maybe I'm biased for what I believe, but like, I think the way we have to frame it, if we're going to have spirituality be a part of it, it has to be something that's like,
Inclusive.
Inclusive. Yes. It has to be inclusive.
But I think the moment someone says God, we throw a cross at them. We go, oh, get out of here with this religion. But it's not what I mean by that. Like, because you just made a solid point. You said God is us. God is within us. And I think sometimes we don't even acknowledge that God within us. And the way things are going right now, we don't even look to that. We don't. Self-reflection, introspection. We're not looking in ourselves to see where we fall. We're over saying, yeah, Black Lives Matter. Respect us. Love us. It's like, yo, whoa, hold up. Come back.
Love you. Do you love you?
Are you whole? Are you wholesome before you start pointing the finger? You know what I mean? So
come on my OnlyFans, Martin. Let's have a live discussion.
Yeah. Hey, I'm with it. That sounded weird though.
That's not crazy.
But I think when you say God though, I mean people get riled up quick, and that just goes to show because people have, misused and misaligned what God really intended for us to serve their own selfish and egotistical purpose. I get that. And I think that's why everybody has a nasty taste in their mouth when they hear the word God or when they hear religion. It's about those pastors that come on talking about something, buy this CD, buy this and do that,
Right.
do that, go to prayer with me. And it's like, get out of here. Stop selling me that whitewashed Christianity, right? And I get that. But the real spirituality, the real relationship with God has to come within ourselves. And I think that's something our former spiritual leaders, like the Martin Luther Kings and the Malcolm X's, that's what they did. They made us identify the stuff going on in our neighborhoods. Manhood, that's something I really, really, really loved about Malcolm X. Probably the number one thing I loved about Malcolm X is how he taught young men how to be men, how to become men, and how much that meant for us to continue our families and to be men in our surroundings, because our families can break apart if we don't have the leader. And that could be subjective too, because nowadays anybody can be a leader. Okay, cool. But
wait a minute. You didn't mean that. You didn't mean that, Martin.
I stand by what I say.
Leave that house nowadays.
Hey, nowadays, what does he mean?
Oh man, let's not.
Listen, I'm about to get canceled, but I'm okay, man. Look, what I mean though by it is he was teaching men their responsibility. You know what I mean? Because if other men are holding other men responsible and accountable, we wouldn't have so many broken homes, we wouldn't have so many broken families, we wouldn't have so much crime, we would respect ourselves so much that we would, I mean, these things would probably still exist, but probably we wouldn't be so targeted when it comes to it. It's so much more important for us to really tap into that inner God.
I think I hear what you're saying, and a part of me hearing what you're saying is why I think it's actually still a bit problematic. Because you're talking about Martin and them instilling like the masculine values into the individual that's most likely to have the most
the way your eye just went
within him. And that's cool, but that diminished, like, no, Martin, that is wrong.
Whoa.
My thoughts together.
Right, whoa.
But
how is teaching men to be men and empowering men wrong? How is
What do
masculinity
you mean? What do you mean teaching men how to be men? What does that mean?
teaching them their responsibilities? Because I think sometimes
What
that's
is
lost.
what is a man's responsibility, and how is it distinct from a woman's responsibilities, other than my ability to bear children?
This is funny.
What? How is
Yeah.
our responsibilities different?
How are they different?
Oh man.
I mean, I think based off my opinion,
Yeah,
our
yeah.
responsibilities our responsibilities are different because we're the men, right? This is a traditional way of thinking things, but we're the leaders of our household. We set the tone. We set the tone.
You
And
know. Okay, sorry.
but
So
that's
yeah,
different because
No, all
2020
Can
I
I
was
can I
all
can
I
I
was
can I
gonna
chime
say
in on
is
this?
men stop history at the point when women were actually ruling, and when it was a matriarch's world, and matriarchs were not only the head of the household but the head of the community,
that
head
was
of
everywhere.
state. Okay, that's where men stop history. And you talk to a man, oh, you don't remember when women ruled? Nah, I ain't never hear nothing about that.
Hey,
Oh,
Daisha,
Wait,
remember what we said?
we venturing like way off
We
top.
are way off. But
It's not even black politics anymore.
remember when we said might makes right?
yes.
Oh
That's
God.
what happened to the matriarchy.
Oh
That's what happened.
God. No.
I hate you guys.
That's kind of what happened. I'm not going front.
Daniel definitely just got canceled. He just got canceled.
Because I mean,
All
if
right,
those
but
if those rules apply, those rules apply. But honestly, on a more serious note, going back to what you were talking about, like, all right, what is this masculine, whatever this idea of masculinity we're talking about?
Yes.
For me at least, men aren't supposed to be petty, and I find that today, the brand of masculinity we see is a very petty brand. We harp on very small things and make small things a big deal and miss the point. I think a sign of a leader, and the leader could be a woman too, because women can have masculine energy. It's not like, you know what I'm saying? It's not something that comes with a penis. It's something that comes with a certain character, right? Like, keep the main thing. Stay on point.
No.
Hold on.
Fadisa, what do you have to say, please? We want to hear from you.
I mean, I'm sure you know I don't have the same view. My whole thing is like all this, pretty much everything that goes on in this country can just be traced back to like white supremacy. So like like even like our perceptions of like what's masculine and whatnot, a lot of it goes back to white supremacy and the patriarchy and all that, and like
patriarchy predates white supremacy, man.
Huh?
Patriarchy predates white supremacy. This is coming from someone who, I mean, I'm Nigerian. Both my parents are literally from there, and in different cultures where they have matriarchs and patriarchs, and they play very distinct roles. And I'm not saying that's the way to go, but I'm saying that like this idea that patriarchy and white supremacy are hand in hand. No, they just coexist here.
Right.
Thing,
but there's like an intersection of like how they manifest too in this country as well, because just because patriarch predates white supremacy doesn't mean that the patriarchy manifests in the same way in each different area and whatnot. But I was just gonna say that. And I guess I kind of got off topic with what you were saying. You're right. Patriarchy does predate white supremacy. But I was just going to say that, there have also been like a lot of African tribes, that, were a matriarchy. Yeah. And, I feel like a lot of the ways in which Black men in America, we've adopted this idea of, the white patriarchy. And we use a lot of their values as to like how what a man should be, when there's technically no definition of what a man, like there's no objective definition of what a man should be. It kind of differs by culture. You go to Mexico, they have like machismo culture, or whatever. and their idea of a man is slightly different from the America's idea of a man. You go to maybe like France, and like they'll kiss you. A man will kiss you on the cheeks, and that's fine. Or men will hold hands, and that's fine. You know, like a lot of it kind of just differs depending on where you're at.
But to that, I'll say this though, right? Because we're in America, we kind of have to quote unquote speak the language, right?
Oh yeah,
If we agree that America is a white supremacist patriarchal society, then we're doing ourselves a disservice if we're going to operate in America by literally throwing our women out to the wolves and saying, "Hey, y'all lead, and we'll just get in where we fit in."
And
because not only are they women, they're also black. So in that arena, they're going to be doubly mistreated, right? Like intersectionality works; it cuts both ways in that regard.
No, yeah, for sure.
If they're being doubly mistreated, putting them at the front lines of negotiation is going to, how do I put it without messing up my point? Throwing them out there is putting them at a disadvantage that they don't need to be in. When we're working intra-communally, we're even. We're people. We don't have to say one's above the other. Like even the idea of head of the household. Head of the household means you're just the person that gets punished when things go wrong. That's what head of the household really means.
I mean, a lot of times in black communities, black women are the head of the household.
Exactly. So like, there's nothing wrong with that inherently, but that doesn't mean men shouldn't be men, and men being men doesn't mean lording over women. Men being men doesn't mean being controlling. Men being men means being responsible.
Right.
Masculinity is like synonymous to like toxicity. It's like if you're masculine, it's toxic, and I don't understand why that is.
Yeah, no, my whole point in bringing it up was I was just saying that like obviously like we've all been kind of conditioned to like adhere to some form of whatever we think being a man is under this country's ideals or whatever. But like my whole point was just like we gotta recognize, you know, where that level becomes harmful. You know, like when it can harm, you know, our women as well. Like, you know, you know, be your ideal or definition of what a man is, but you know, don't let that, you know, freak out because you got rejected by a woman or whatever. You know, like stuff like that.
Exactly.
That's all I meant.
Like you can be a man without dominating somebody else. Like your manhood. Someone said this to me one day, and I was like, it blew my mind. It was like, you decide what can emasculate you. Like you decide that. No one
a man is whatever you decide it is, I think.
So the fact that you decide what emasculates you means, all right, let's say you're married and your significant other makes more than you. That doesn't make you less of a man. That's if you decide that that's what emasculates you, that's because you decided that, not because society did, not because she did, because you did.
But doesn't that just then go back to like, okay, I'm human, and these experiences make me feel this way, and these experiences make me feel this way?
I think some of it is also like how your society treats you too, though, right? Like gender isn't as much as I say you decide what emasculates you, gender isn't something you give to yourself. Gender is something society assigns to you. That's why a lot of stuff is very confusing in modern discourse, because it's like, hey, it's not your job to tell me you're a woman or a man. It's my job to identify you as such based on what we believe.
Right. Yes.
Believe what we've agreed a woman and a man should be.
I agree.
Saying we're starting over and making different parameters, fine. But under the current context, we're trying to reinvent the wheel when it's like, we don't have to do that. We don't.
Right.
We don't. Like, you can be every bit of a man without lording over a woman. You can be every bit of a man and raise your children to be upstanding people and love your family and take care of business and be responsible for what's been entrusted to you, without being abusive, without being
But I don't
I'm
even
nearing.
like. Wait, okay, I don't even think that part. Like, the only thing that I think is important to remember is like what you said. You can be responsible and raise up your household and like all of the characteristics that you list that a man can do. Like the woman can do that too. So that's I think like the woman can be responsible. The women like
No one said she couldn't.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But what y'all okay.
We just need to make sure the men are.
But shouldn't we make sure that the women are too?
I think they're doing a good job.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was like, no one was like, oh man, women need to stop abandoning their families and not being responsible. Because if anything, women do take that up. I mean, I've come from a home where my father left, and who carried the weight for her 3 kids? My mom did. So I think the big emphasis is holding other men accountable, men teaching men how to be more responsible. Because I don't think we live in a culture where that's really a thing anymore.
Here, I'll put it like this: it's optional for men to be men in this society, and it's to our detriment.
Yeah, I don't think when we talk about manhood,
what does that mean? It's optional for men to be men. Like what?
A lot of men.
It goes back to the conversation of what's a man.
Right. I'm going to be 30 this year. There are plenty of men. I'm going to use the word men who are my age and are still kids. In their outlook on the world, in their sense of responsibility, there's just a lack of maturity that goes into being an adult that a lot of men lack.
I feel that. So wait, hold up, Daisha. Before, just let me say one thing. So I guess under the context of the conversation that we're having, wouldn't it be there's a lot of men that aren't acting as adults in this society? Rather than saying there's a lot of men that aren't being.
The reason I specified that they're not acting as men is because, again, the context, right? We're in the context of a patriarchy. We're in the context of a place where, as a man, certain things are expected of you. A certain level of stability is expected of you. It really is about expectations. And they're not living up to those expectations. Yes, as adults, but even further as men. Inability to protect your family, even from physical harm. That's the job of a man. No one okay, prime example, and it's terrible, but it is what it is. If there's a family that starves and the father is there, the first person to look and say, why is your family starving? Is the guy, is the man. Is that right? I don't know. It's not for me to say, but it's because we've ascribed as a culture certain responsibilities to a man. Now, women have done more than take up the slack. They've done more than their fair share, and honestly, they're complaining about it. They're complaining about it. So, like,
I'm about to cut y'all off.
Hey, this conversation can actually go really deep.
Yeah, I don't even want to take it any deeper. I just actually no, I won't even ask the question I was going to say. Go ahead, Daisha.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say first what you were talking about, men aren't being men. I think that again just goes back to the tools that we were talking about before: emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and healing the inner child that was somehow scarred or traumatized when you were younger. Like generally, like just humans basically need to do that. I understand you're putting the emphasis on men, but I think it's just a human thing that people need to be wary of. And then 2, I think when you talked about the scenario with the starved, and the first thing the person does is look to the man, like nobody's looking to. Are we all frozen?
No, you're good.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Did something weird. The first person somebody on the outside coming in is going to look to is the man. And even if they do that, if that man is secure in his emotional intelligence, his self-awareness, and obviously the experience he lived through, then it doesn't really matter what that person thinks, because it may not be their reality.
But it does matter that your family's starving.
It matters that the family's starving because the family's starving, not because it may or may not be the man's fault that the family's starving.
So this isn't even about attributing blame as much as it is like, as a man, you shouldn't let your family starve.
But as a woman, you shouldn't let your family starve
Cool.
either.
So we're on the same team. Let's go make sure our family doesn't starve. Like
Okay, I
that's
see what you were saying. Like basically, you're just saying that men haven't been pulling their weight, but it's just a little. It's a little problematic, I think.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not gonna say
That not pulling their
problematic.
weight is problematic. Yes.
Yeah, I think Daisha's just emphasizing that like it's weird that we put this expectation on the man. Like, yes, society expects that, but I guess we're moving forward into to a point where like I don't even know where I'm going with this.
The
But like,
roles are probably more flexible now than they've ever been. But I'll say this: it's not my place to tell a woman how to be a woman. It's not. I'm not going to criticize women.
But I don't know that it's your place to tell another man how to be a man either.
Oh, I'm just giving my opinion on what my views on manhood are. You can take it or leave it. Like, that's not something. Again, I'm not going to say this. I'm just saying what I believe best practices for a man are. Like the framework is: hey, be responsible, don't be petty, be able to protect. If you can do those three things, and actively love your family first and then community, you should be all right.
You're a good man if you can do that.
Yeah, if you're a good man if you can do that. I'm not gonna give instructions on how to be a good woman. That's not my place.
Listen, I don't believe in good or bad, so I couldn't tell it.
Right? Yeah, you just yin yang over here. So
Martin is stressed.
I'm not stressed. I feel like I made a point that brought up a really, really big conversation. Like it kind of took us off track. But if we're gonna go back to Black politics, I would always say that spirituality has always been a part of Black politics. No matter what country you go to, no matter what. I mean, you can talk about civil rights, you can talk about the Haitian independence, you can talk about some countries in Africa if you want. But I think spirituality and Black politics have always aligned in some way or shape or form. I made an example about how Malcolm X was teaching courses on manhood, and that turned into what is a man? Man and like, hey, I get you, I understand, but I can speak to being a man because I see Black men being killed every day, and I'm like, that's not for nothing though. There's a reason behind that, and I do believe if they eliminate Black men, they can eliminate the Black race. I mean, 100%. And I'm not saying if they don't eliminate Black women, it's not the same, but we're being targeted. And if we're not doing our part, if we're not earning that respect and civilization, because what they look at us as murderers, drug dealers. Like, honestly, if I walk through my neighborhood and no one knows anything about me, they don't assume the best. They don't assume the best for me. They think of the worst. You know, they're like, how the fuck is he in his neighborhood? What is his credit score? He don't belong here, type of thing. And what is your credit score anyways? It's just a measure of responsibility. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's just like putting a number rating on your responsibility. So the reason why I emphasize Black men is because if you isolate Black men, we're being oppressed. And to get to the Black family, you get to the Black man. And I'm not discrediting women and their role in the family at all. But there's a reason why there's always these public lynchings, I would call them, of us. And why they're always trying to make us seem like criminals, always make us look really bad. And because if you destroy the image of Black, like if you're destroying the image of Black people as a whole, like you're gonna definitely destroy the Black man. And I think that's what's been happening. And I think if we hold other men accountable to be more responsible, to be more respectful, not to say that there's a specific thing you have to do to make you a man, but there's some foundational principles in what we call manhood. And I don't think we teach those things anymore. And that's why little boys will walk around with the ratchet, as they call it, knocking niggas dead for no reason and call themselves men and not even understand the importance of their own brothers and sisters. So I do believe that manhood is important. And I don't know how we got off. I didn't want to get off tangent and start saying who's more important. Is masculinity toxic, or I don't want to define what a man is, but I do believe that it is important.
Yeah, it's not actually a competition between masculinity and femininity.
I'm fine.
Oh,
And I
God.
hear everything you're saying. No. All I'm adding is that I think I personally I believe that it's problematic to put characteristics on what a man is supposed to be. I think to get at the end that you're intending, you can simply teach the tools that I talked about at the beginning of this, emotional intelligence and self-awareness, and that individual will grow to be the best version of themselves. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think I agree with that as far as just like instead of framing it as like, oh, a man should be this, we should just be teaching accountable and responsible and emotionally intelligent human beings, period. And I think we would have better outcomes on both sides. But I definitely agree with what Martin's saying about like, because we are socialized as Black men, we're seen as Black men, we're seen as threats. Believe like I think since like 2013, there's been like over 2,000 murders of Black men by police brutality. Like, I mean, like, there's definitely like a gender aspect to how this plays about. And, we definitely need to, like, there's definitely a role to play as far as like holding each other accountable and stuff, gender wise.
Yeah, but you know what, guys? Forgive me for even making this a gender thing, but really it was just about
That was
Black
good.
politics.
That was good. It's good.
It's necessary.
It's
I,
necessary.
That's
I
half the
brought
community.
I brought the conversation up, really talking about another outlier, which is spirituality within Black politics.
Right.
And spirituality looks different. And when we talk about spirituality, we don't mean a specific religion, but we do understand that there's foundational principles, a code of morality that we should adhere to, rather than doing this free for all, shooting from the hip. Because I promise you, it's not going to lead to anything. Because everyone has their own, without a foundation or without a core, then everyone has their own motives, everyone has their own objectives, and then there's no unified front. So I feel like any revolution or any kind of big movement that Black people were involved in, best believe there's an inkling of spirituality in it as well. So I'm not going to ever act like that's not part of the battle. We need to equip ourselves there. Like let me tell you, if I got 10 guns in a house full of ammunition, grenades, all of that, but I have no faith that I can win the battle. And faith does not mean I believe in Jesus Christ, or you know what I mean? Faith is literally, what do you believe in? What's your foundation? Like, what makes you get up every morning and go, okay, what makes you even manifest? What are you manifesting if you don't have any belief? You know what I mean? If you don't have faith, that's your spirit, man. The flesh can't believe in anything, because without spirit, the flesh cannot activate. So spiritual is in your faith. And if we don't have faith that we can win this battle and come against the oppressors, then bro, you might as well sit your happy ass down, unload your gun, and wait for them to come in and assassinate you, because that's all it is. You're not equipped for this war. If you think you're just going to read policies, read laws, and watch debates, then you ain't nothing but a spectator, bro. You ain't in this war. You're not in this war. So I bring up the spirituality thing because I know it's like thin ice. Nobody wants to talk about it because we're all supposed to coexist. I get it. But without faith, bro, we might not even see the election, bro. We might not even make it through the pandemic. So that's why I want us to activate. I'm not asking nobody to join my church. I'm not gonna pass you did you get saved card. I'm not doing that. I think we're past that. I just think, like, if we don't equip ourselves in that area as well, you can know your rights and all that, but you just as good as a dead man without any kind of spiritual foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. I kind of want to put a lid on it right now because the game is on and I'm missing it, and it's making me sad.
Y'all ain't shit.
Hey, go eat, baby. Talk about it.
Nah, Lakers gang all day.
Dang, son.
Anyway.
That's unfortunate.
We'll see. Um, but yeah, this was definitely a good discussion.
So
Thank you all for coming. Like, uh, I learned a lot. I think it was stimulating. We want to try and have these like every week if we can, on like whether it be on the books that we're reading or a movie or just some topic. Me and Martin usually coordinate it, but if you guys like have an idea or whatever, like let us know or drop in the group text or whatever, and we could definitely set something up.
And like Daniel was saying, it's important for us to build a community of like-minded individuals. We might not agree on everything. We might not agree on everything, but the things we do agree on, I think it's pretty solid here. We want to see the advancement of Black people, you know.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to use the term colored people or people of color because that's some lame ass corporate shit that they created. You know what I'm saying? But Black people, we want to see the advancement of Black people. And if we have these discussions and we settle our differences, like I didn't say, oh, well, you, because you believe in this. And it's like, all right, I understand your viewpoint. I understand where you're coming from. But really, the main thing that we really care about right now is a change for the Black people altogether. So hopefully we can continue to have these healthy discussions because I learned something from each one of y'all tonight. And, you know, we're going to try to keep these going on a weekly basis, like Sandisa said. But feel free to, you know, put some things down or suggestions, whatever.
Yeah.
that
You guys have
Thanks,
anything else to say?
great discussion. Great discussion. The second half could have been a discussion in and of itself.
Right.
I was thinking that too.
But no, I enjoyed it. I appreciate you guys hosting this. It was a good talk, a necessary talk. So hopefully I can share some snippets and whatnot and could gauge some interest for next time around. Garner some interest from next time.
Don't frame him as a misogynist though, because I know how people.
I am. I'm gonna get the part right when you seem as though you're a misogynist. This is Daniel Obed.
I try to keep it 100. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it over here.
No.
Same time, a lot of niggas ain't acting like niggas these days.
Like
Oh, man. Here it comes.
You're gonna have the niggas and shit brigade on your ass.
Hey, but like to get a real quick update, if you guys are interested in joining the book club, buy this book. It's only like $15.
What's
It's
it
called
called?
The Discourse
on Colonialism.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's only like 100 something pages. It's not even not that much. But yeah, we want to try and talk about it in a few weeks, I think.
Who wrote it? Because I'm interested.
I think it was written by a Haitian?
A French.
Yeah.
No, it's someone French.
So
It's translated into English by Joan Pinkham. But it talks about the West Indies a lot, obviously, because, you know, so many of their countries was colonized by the great white man. But yeah, this is definitely interesting. The introduction was pretty interesting. Talks about the West Indies a lot in there, so I think it would be a good discussion point as well. When we talk about the west side, the western region of the world, I mean, that's colonialism all throughout. You know what I mean? So, yep. If you guys are interested in reading, I know reading is like not a popular thing, but we just watched a movie recently too. We watched Uppity, and a lot of y'all don't know about the Willie T story.
Yeah, if y'all not gonna read the books with us or read the Spark Notes, try and watch the movies that we try and put on, because those are pretty good, and we had a good discussion on it last week.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yo, Dan, you know who Willie T is?
never heard of him.
Wow, he was the first black man to race in the Indy 500.
Okay.
He was
That's what's
good.
up. That's what's up. That's dope. That's
Yeah,
dope.
man, he did it well into the civil rights era, all the way into the 80s. Dominated in racing, car racing.
I mean,
That's not
what's the
something-
old boy in Europe? What's his name? Is it Lewis Alexander? I forgot his name. The dude
Lewis
who keeps dominating. He's dominating out in the not NASCAR. The
Formula One.
I forgot the name of that circuit, but the European circuit where
Formula
yeah,
One.
Formula One, yeah,
Okay.
Lewis Hamilton or something like that. Like
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton.
yeah,
Bro, Willie T paved the way for that man.
okay. So you said the movie's called Uppity.
What?
It's on
Uppity on Netflix.
It's
On
called Up.
Netflix. Oh,
Yeah.
say less. All right, bet.
The
Next
Willie.
week I'm
Hey,
gonna
man, it's
have
actually
time to watch movies and read books. So
it's a very empowering documentary, to say the least.
Are you up on the 3rd, Daniel?
up on the 3rd,
Are you taking the bar on the 3rd?
on the 5th and 6th.
Oh, on the 5th and 6th. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Just curious.
Oh, good.
Of
Are
October.
you taking yours?
yeah. I'm taking the DC bar on the 5th and 6th.
Oh, okay. Is it in person?
No.
Oh, okay. It's just
It's
2 days.
remote.
Oh,
It's
okay.
trash, but it is what it is. Well,
You got
What about you, Dice?
this.
That would be interesting.
Huh?
What about you, Daisha?
Oh, it's
What
the 13th.
on the 13th?
Of
Oh
October.
yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
wait, is that Friday the 13th? No,
No,
it's
it's like a
Tuesday.
Wednesday, I think,
Wednesday,
or
I was
Tuesday.
about to say.
Yours remote too.
Yeah, remote and only one day.
Only one
Thanks.
day?
One day, 100 questions, 100 multiple choice questions, and 3 essays.
So they
Done.
got us doing 100 multiple choice, and then, well, the first day is the like MPT, like practical nonsense.
Oh, we don't have an MPT, so maybe
Yeah.
that's why they were able to get it down to
Do
one
it in
day.
one day, yeah. And we got 3 essays in that afternoon, and then we got 100 multiple choice the next day.
I'm about to turn this game on though, man.
Yeah.
Much love and peace. to
I'll holler at
everybody.
y'all.
Facts,
Bye,
facts.
guys.
Bye.
See y'all.
All right,
I'm about to end the stream. Peace.
peace.